I don't want to get close. I haven't been the same since I loved that hoe. I haven't been the same since I lost my bro. I say I'm gonna change, but I know I won't. I get high, I love to smoke. She gon' lie like I'm a joke. You want to take flights across the coast? Remember those times, no horoscopes. I'm Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
And I'm Guy Pigden. And who was that?
That's Lil Skies, mumble rapper.
Yeah.
But he's the good one.
I did have a feeling that it did give the impression of a poorly thought out rap that perhaps I could come up with.
Well, that's pretty insulting. The only bit I don't like is the no horoscope.
That's
what
what I'm saying,
the fuck is that about? There's no scope on the horror of those lyrics. Ooh, see how I turned it round on there? Little Skies. And check him out. Liam Hegarty, by the way, 5150 listener, is a mumble rap enthusiast now. He's balls deep in that sumbitch. He's reneged on his punk rock roots, and now he is a big fan of mumble rap. It started with Post Malone, who is, of course, known as a gateway drug to mumble rap.
Nice.
And then now he's delved into Little Peep, and he was feeling Little Peep. I put him onto Little Xan, but he wasn't quite ready for Xan yet. And next thing you know, it'll be Little Toenail. It'll be right in there. So I've converted one person, I like to think.
Lil Dicky?
I never listened to Lil Dicky.
He's not a mumble rapper.
Isn't he? No, I thought he was older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're back already. And the reason why is because I wanted to get another show in before you leave to go to London, which is only like 11 days or something away from now.
Yes, it's actually
pretty soon.
Really, it's progressing at a very scary rate.
An alarming pace.
Yeah. And I knew this was happening as soon as I kind of started thinking about doing this, and as soon as I sort of started booking in my tickets, I was like, yeah, as soon as I lock this in, it'll feel like it's tomorrow and I'll be going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that's just the way it happens when you kind of set something in like that, that you don't really have time enough to prepare for.
Especially something you need, you've got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Something you're going to be busy with.
So it is really, just, I was like, man, it's a month away. Man, it's a week away. It's 3 weeks away. Man, it's less than 2 weeks away, really.
Man, I'm in London.
Man, I'm on the plane. And that's the thing is...
Man, I forgot my toothbrush.
Man, I forgot my camera.
Sir, you're going to have to wear pants on this plane. I forgot my pants.
And it is, absolutely full speed ahead at the moment. So for me... I'm sort of, if I'm teaching, if I'm not teaching, I'm editing. If I'm not editing, I'm filming. If I'm not filming, I'm Ubering. If I'm not Ubering, I'm planning the next thing that I'm going to teach. So if you've tuned into the live stream, like my girlfriend, and she wants to know why I look like a piece of shit, it's because I'm tired. I have not had very much sleep for a lot of time, and it's catching up to my face.
Yeah.
Primarily, it's catching me up in the face.
Also, we can see Guy's face more because he's shaved off his Wolverine-esque chops at the moment.
Yes, I did shave those off because I'm going to London, so I know that I'm not going to be called up to wrestle anytime soon. I have not been cleared to wrestle. I have not been medically cleared. My hip is not yet fully functional. And in fact, there's a little story that I may as well just tell now. So, I've had this hip injury. I've had this hip injury that I've been aware of for over a year. I got surgery in it in December. I couldn't really do much of anything for sort of 2 to 3 weeks. I was on crutches. I had a big boy potty.
I remember that.
A big boy potty I was using for at least 4 weeks, probably 5 weeks, maybe even 6 weeks. Maybe I used that big boy potty for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I used it a couple of times too.
Yeah, it's good. It feels nice.
Yeah.
Saves
the knees.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is of the big boy potty is that you don't have to bend as low, so your hip does not get impinged to the same degree. So it's I actually recommend them just in general.
Just in general.
Nice because
were you sad when you had to give that back to
To
the
be
hospital?
honest, there was a tinge of regret, but what was more annoying was having to take it in and out because not everyone wanted to use the big boy potty.
Well, you couldn't leave it there while you were peeing because it's essentially 4 legs with a toilet seat on the top of it that just doesn't go. It's more like it's hip height approximately.
Yeah.
So if you were to pee, it would be difficult to pee through it. You'd end up peeing on it.
Well, you can lift the toilet seat though.
Right. I still feel like I'd piss all over it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The circle is smaller.
Yeah.
And it's
higher.
So
and I'm shorter than you too.
The aim.
Yeah, I've got to actually aim upwards to get it in and arc it in like a mortar.
Going over the top of the trenches.
Yeah.
There's the first World War II reference in case everyone's scouting. No
anyone's
dad
wondering.
jokes yet, but
No.
World War II reference number 1.
Yeah.
It's in the can.
I made a good World War II reference the other day on Facebook, which of course nobody got. It was incredibly obscure. It was after you and I went to Envy Studios to do some ADR there, some additional dialogue recording.
Oh yeah, I forgot. If I'm not doing all those other things, I'm finishing older.
Yeah, and so we went in there to do that, which was great. And Guy got a picture of me, and I look pretty fucking jacked in this picture. I feel like my gymming has been paying off, and so I posted the picture, and then in the comments I said, why didn't anybody tell me that I was so swole? I got to lay off the gym. I should have stopped going months ago. Look at the size of those guns. You could call me Schwerer Gustav because I wouldn't look out of place sitting on train tracks lobbing shells at Sevastopol. I've become a grotesque, distended, muscle-bound monster. Now, of course, we all know that at the 50 on 50, we all know that Schwerer Gustav was a gigantic artillery piece, which was so huge it had to be on a train, and the Germans had it, and they used it when they were during the siege at Sevastopol. But yeah, nobody didn't get many likes. Got to confess, didn't get much of a reaction.
No,
might have gone a little bit too obscure with the World War II.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Mm.
Got to know your audience.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm trying to build my World War II enthusiast audience, though.
I guess.
So I've got to create content for them.
Right. But that's at the expense of the rest of your audience. So, you know, what do you want? Do you want a couple of World War II people? Or do you want just the general population that doesn't find you a disgusting bore?
Well, I'll have you know, actually, that I've been in correspondence with... what appears
war
to
correspondence.
War correspondence. With what appears to be, as far as I can see from my very superficial stalking, an attractive Italian woman. Greek woman, an attractive Greek woman, and part of the reason why is it's to do with producing a short film for her, maybe that's half shot in Greece, half shot in New Zealand. And the interesting thing about it is that it's a World War II. Well, it's got a World War II theme throughout it. It's about veterans and stuff after they come back, but it's got a World War II theme about the New Zealand contributions to the war. And so my World War II nerdism has actually proven to be quite a benefit so far. It's opening doors for me. So in my career. And you never know, maybe even my love life.
I think it's closing more doors than it's opening there.
Well, you might be right.
So anyway, back to my hip. So I'm sort of halfway through my rehab, or maybe over halfway through my rehab, and my other hip started feeling pretty sore.
Oh yeah, that makes sense, right? Because you'll be favoring it all the time.
So I've been favoring that other hip for months, but also I, we never checked out my other hip to go, hey, what's going on with the other hip? Which I always thought was weird, like that they would analyze one hip and go, so one hip sits lower, this one, so all the pressure on this one, and I was like, cool. But
how do you know it sits lower if you haven't checked the other one?
But I was kind of like, would it not make sense to also just see what's going on with the other hip? If anything, hopefully nothing.
Well, like X-ray or something?
Yeah, just X-ray. Basically do the same thing. Like, I'm right there. You just shift the X-ray over.
Just roll you over.
Yeah. So anyway, I was sort of, it was kind of bothering me a little bit. And then I guess, it would have been like a month or two ago. I was going up the stairs and there was a big old pop as I sort of started, as I took a step up with that thing. And I was like, oh, well, your bones pop all the time.
Yeah.
Like, if you move your shoulder, your back, something, it'll click, it'll pop. So I wasn't super alarmed. I wasn't immediately like, oh, my other hip is fucked. In fact, quite the opposite. I was like, oh, nothing. I sort of didn't think anything of it, but it did feel quite sore and quite tight after that. And then I started noticing that my good hip, was starting to do this way more often. Like sometimes I'd get up out of bed and I'd have a little pop. Sometimes I would, just be walking, it'll be a little pop. Sometimes, a lot of times stairs were a big thing for me. And I was like, okay, this is actually getting a little bit concerning because every time my hip pops, it's sore and it's tight for, a day or two afterwards. Which certainly gives the impression that it is exactly the same injury as my other hip. So essentially, either from the pressure or from 35 years, of a wonky hips, or a sort of a combination of both, I have a sinking feeling, but also like, a couple of days ago, I sort of bent down to tighten my shoelaces and it popped twice. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. Shit's popping off.
I have been doing my best to live in the kind of the world of not believing my body, and being positive and assuming that it's just my hip clicking, like it's no big deal, whatever. But this one, and then it was sore afterwards, and now a lot of the time my good hip is sorer than my bad hip, which never used to be the case. That wasn't the case just after my surgery or anything like that. That is a very recent thing, and right now, my bad hip feels fine. My good hip feels kind of sore.
Yeah.
All of this leads me to believe that there's some serious problems going on with that hip.
So are you gonna are you gonna book an appointment and get looked at, or what's the story?
Yeah. So essentially, I'm not sure if I'll have time before I go to film this documentary.
Yeah.
I will consult with my physio, but I think I'll probably be going back to the specialist shortly. He will probably be diagnosing me with the same problem, and he will probably be deciding to operate, which means that,
go through all of that shit again.
Another surgery, another lengthy rehab, another time off work, another all this, all that, which is not good for the future. And also, it's one thing to have one bad hip, but when you got two bad hips, they're not getting better.
No, well, especially the whole issue really is just that you've still got so much time that you need to be running around. Mobile, exactly. Yep. Like it's like you want to be dealing with hips and stuff in your 50s and 60s, not your 30s.
Yeah. And I did also, when I was talking to the specialist most recently, he goes, yeah, we did do like it on both sides for one guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. And he was an athlete and he got back to his thing. He was a professional hockey player and he sort of got back. He recovered. And I go, what? Did you do? He goes, no, we did them, one after the other sort of thing. We didn't do them both at once.
Yeah.
But, he managed to get back into it. And I was like, cool. But in my head at that time, I was like, damn, I can't imagine anything worse than having to do this twice.
Yeah.
Like the whole rehab process, the whole getting better, the whole not being able to move.
So would they have done one hip of his and then let it recover like fully, like wait like a year type thing and then go do the second one?
Exactly.
Oh, that's good because what that means is, hopefully if required, that's what you can do as well.
Yes.
And it's what you haven't wasted any time. It's not like you would have been like, if you diagnosed this 6 months ago, you could have just got them done at the same time and you'd be sweet as now. No,
they definitely would not do them both at once, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I think it is a very strong possibility that is in my future. So I'm definitely not very happy about that.
No, well, you wouldn't be. No, there's very little to be happy about.
But that's what's going on with me and my hips.
Look, if you want something to hold on to stay positive, there is a very real possibility that it is just to do with you putting too much pressure and weight and stuff, or in favouring your hip too much, because it has happened since your other one, Yep. So it is possible that it's kind of just been provoked by that. at the moment.
It's true,
So
but
you're best to wait to see what the doctor says.
it's true, but
before
I'm
you
also
jump to the worst.
so far along in my rehab now,
Yeah.
and I'm not favoring my hip anymore.
Were you sure? Because
Yes.
when you get out of the car, you probably do it different to how you did it a year ago. And when you go to the gym, when you do anything, I bet you do it slightly different than you would normally. And I'm just basing this off with the way that I favored. I had a sore shoulder for a long time, which is still probably only at around 95%. And I did notice that I favored it without thinking. I'd favor the other one without really thinking about it. And it wasn't until I kind of identified that behavior that I recognized it.
Well, I'm pretty conscious of it, and part of the rehab is being aware of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And looking to remedy that. So that's what I was hoping that would be the case. I just think I've been in denial, and now I'm realistically, I know my body. I've been through this once. This is what it was doing. It's doing exactly the same thing. What are the real odds that it's just additional pressure?
On the upside, maybe we can catch this one earlier as well than the other one.
That's true.
Because
that's
you
true.
recognize the symptoms and will ignore them for a lot less time.
Yep, absolutely.
So just keep your chin up, buddy. That's all I'm saying.
Keep your head up, homie.
Yeah. Shout out to Huda Moss, who is the beer sponsor of this episode. We are currently drinking some Max Green Beret beer, which came from Huda Moss. He made a donation. He said this is for 2 podcasts worth of beer. So thanks for that, Huda, and shout out to you. And cheers.
Cheers to that.
So if anybody else wants to sponsor one of the episodes, you can be the official beer sponsor of the Guy and Harley podcast. All you got to do is go to paypal.com, and you can use the email address pigvilleproductions@gmail.com, and you can make a donation. It's pigvilleproductions@gmail.com, and that's also the same place you'd go or could go if you wanted to make a random donation to Guy with his upcoming travel expenses to go make this doco as well. All you got to do is just put in a wee message saying what it's for, if it's for beer or if it's for Guy.
Yeah, and I should just quickly mention that, I am sort of crowdfunding, trying to do a crowdfunding campaign to help pay for the documentary that I'm going over to film in 2 weeks' time. Now, the issue is that I don't really have time to write a crowdfunding documentary.
Yeah.
So I am absolutely neglecting it a lot because I have to do my other jobs first. Whereas this crowdfunding campaign is very important. It's very important to finish the documentary in time for my uncle to see it. It's very important for alleviating some substantial debt that I'll be incurring. And it's, just a really good thing to do. I've been thinking a lot about this film recently, and I don't know if I quite got my point across last podcast where, we do film for entertainment, generally speaking. Sometimes there is a subtle message within the context of that. But film can also be a very powerful tool. And, the reality is, I didn't know and still don't know much about MSA. But what I've found out is that no one really knows about it. And I think...
Tell them what that is. Multiple system atrophy.
That's right. And, if you weren't listening on the last podcast, it's a neurological degenerative disease, which my uncle has been afflicted with. A few years ago, he was walking, talking, doing everything. He was totally fine. Now he's in a wheelchair.
He has a cameo in Older.
Yes.
Dancing.
Which is where, the last time that I saw him. And he was... for all intents and purposes, he was fine. There was a few sort of telltale symptoms which were later sort of diagnosed, but overall, he was good. Now he's in a wheelchair. He can't move much of his body at all. He can't really talk. And just think about it's so hard, and this is part of the reason why I want to make this documentary. Is if you think about that reality, if you think about you in that position. And how testing and trying that would be, it's words can't qualify it, and so that's why I hope that this documentary will sort of give a bit more of a window into that, because I remember I just had my operation and I couldn't move my leg for about 3 or 4 hours after I woke up. They said, don't move your leg. And by the end of that 3 or 4 hours, I was uncomfortable. I was restless. I was stiff. I was, in pain from not moving. And that was 3 hours. Now imagine your whole life. You can't really move your body except when other people move it for you.
But he can feel his body.
He can feel his body.
He's not paralyzed.
He's not paralyzed.
Yeah, he just
literally can't move it. So
control
all his aches and pains
are still there.
Are still there.
Yeah.
He just can't, move. And obviously he's taking a million drugs to kind of make him feel like not uncomfortable all the time. But the reality is, from the moment that he opens his eyes to the moment he goes to bed, he's in a quite large amount of discomfort. That's before you factor in the fact that he's this super intelligent dude, with a family, and he can't talk to his family except in like very short sort of sentences that they don't really understand, and then maybe he gets across his point, but maybe not, and maybe that couple of sentences has exhausted him. And think about not being able to participate in life. That is essentially this thing. So in terms of like, and I think one of the worst things about it is, it's one thing to be told that you have something and it's treatable, whether or not you will be successful in that treatment, but it is treatable somehow. You do have a chance to get better. But when you're told, look, this right now, how you feel right now is as good as you'll ever feel. And every single day from now on, you'll feel a little bit worse. You'll be able to do a little bit less. You'll have a little bit less of all the things that everyone else gets to experience and enjoy in life. You will have less of until you have none of it, until you can no longer communicate, talk, do anything, and everything is done for you. And as far as sort of sentences go, that's pretty much as bad as it gets, right? Because it never gets better for him, and it never, he never has a day where he feels better than he did the day before. And, if I think about the ways that, I want to go, I'm kind of hoping it's like a heart attack or something like that. Out of the blue, I'm going about my business. I'm 120 years old.
Well, 120 years old is all good. There is something to be said for having time to prepare your estate and all that.
Sure, but you'd hope at 120 you've done a few of those things.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
And then boom, you just don't know, or you die in your sleep or something like that.
Die in your sleep, that's the way to go. After your wife.
Yes.
Like the day after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to be told, like, look,
you don't want to go before her. It's a competition.
However long you're gonna be around for, it's gonna be this huge battle for you. Every day is gonna be this huge battle for you, and no one else can really understand or relate to that battle but you. And I think that's what he's dealing with. That's why I want to make this documentary, so we understand it a little bit more. And also, like, how do we treat this? Well, we get funding for research. How do you get funding for research? You show people these types of documentaries. Because the issue right now is that it's very hard to diagnose. It's very rare. And so, people didn't even know what it was, a few years ago. Like if we talked like maybe 20 years, it probably wouldn't have been diagnosed as this. It would have been diagnosed as something else. This is a whole sort of new thing, and so if you want to contribute, I've got the crowdfunding campaign. We'll post a link to it in the description.
It will also be on facebook.com/Guy and Harley.
But yeah, if you want to help out, and you've been thinking in your head, yeah, I should probably do that. I'll probably get to that. It's better to get to it now, just because a lot of the stuff I have to buy.
I haven't donated yet.
I haven't
shared it yet either.
I'm not going to hold it against you just yet, Harley. But like I have stuff that I need to sort of buy and prepare before I go, which is right now.
Yeah.
So if you go, I'll get to it later, and then
that's still good.
That's awesome.
That's
but
still good.
If there's this surge right at the end, it might be too late to do some of the things that I would have been able to do had I known, okay, I've got this much money coming in.
Yeah.
But already we've raised.
What are you at now? Yeah.
$565.
That's a pretty good,
which is awesome.
like even if you just,
Yeah.
if that was all you got, that would mean like
right off
quarter
the
of your
bat,
flights type thing.
Yeah, right off the bat, quarter of my flights or my camera insurance, something like that. So right off the bat, boom, that's taken care of, and that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So, like I'm certainly not complaining, but I would encourage you, if you're listening to us and you think, yeah, I'll get to doing that, please do. And, you are helping, you're helping a really good dude. And like I said, this documentary is hopefully just going to be a tool. I'm not really thinking about it, in any more sense than that. I hope that, if people want to know about this, if funders want to understand what they're giving research to, if people want to know about who my uncle is and what he's going through, or if I ever have to explain it, I'll just go, look, man, watch this and maybe you understand a little bit more about him. That's what it's there. That's what I hope to do with it, and affect positive change. I'm not big for causes, in the sense that I don't necessarily. I am doing a thing for charity tomorrow for the victims of the Christchurch shooting, but I'm not a huge cause person.
What's the thing you're doing tomorrow? You're filming
I'm filming a charity fundraiser for them. So which all the proceeds is at Sky City. All the proceeds go to the victims of the Christchurch shootings.
Well, it's very commendable, sir.
So the least I could do. But I think this is a real good one. Obviously, sometimes
it's not as good as like posting something on Facebook. Posting a status on Facebook or something like that, but like it's still a valuable contribution.
Yeah,
it's a valuable.
It's not. How many shares did you get?
600 shares.
Look, it's not 600 shares on Facebook.
1,800 reacts.
It's not 1,800 reacts on Facebook. But
hey,
I'm just trying to do my part.
It's not perfectly gauging the
the zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist, and it's not that, but.
But good on you, mate, for trying.
Yeah, no, it is. It's nice. Cool. So people can go do that. There's also show us your tips down below if you're watching on the live stream. Show us your tips. Click on that. You can donate there. So moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
I watched Leaving Neverland. I'm really not sure about the direction they're taking the Peter Pan franchise. That was the worst sequel to Hook ever. This Michael Jackson guy can't hold a candle to Robin Williams. So I tell you what, when I started watching it, I thought it was a Peter Pan movie. Turns out, it's a pedophile movie. Now I reckon he's guilty as sin, but I already thought he was guilty purely based on the fact that he's a man in his 30s, openly traveling around the world and sleeping in the same bed as various little boys on countless occasions. Now I don't know if you've ever seen a 7-year-old boy. But they are disgusting. I don't want a 7-year-old boy I can't think of anything worse than him to share a bed with a 7-year-old boy. Yeah. So it's just kind of crazy that the world was like, yeah. It's just because he's a big kid. He's just a big kid. No, he's not a big kid. He's a person manipulating you. And he had maybe he didn't have like a very childish childhood, that's probably true, but that doesn't mean that it's okay to sleep in beds with 7-year-olds when you're in your 30s, it still doesn't justify that behavior or explain that behavior. And this idea that, he was just so childish, and it's like, okay, if you take away even just the all of this child stuff and just and kind of go, okay, so there's a guy in his 30s. Let's imagine he's not this amazing, talented artist, and he's just a guy in his 30s. Yeah. Now, if you met a guy on the street in his 30s who was black and who got surgery to be white and made his nose all little and weird and all of that stuff and did all of the weird things that he did, like hanging babies over balconies and all that type of thing, would you be like, no, that's fine. My 7-year-old can sleep in his bed. It's purely because he was this celebrity that it was kind of like accepted as an excuse, as a story that people might buy. As
a narrative.
Yeah, but it's like, otherwise you'd be like, there is absolutely no way, that's normal. So the other thing too is if you look at like history, it's not unprecedented for high-profile figures to keep boys at their side for sex. Like that's not unheard of, you know. Like I could. There's two examples off the top of my head, right? Both from military history. Ernst Röhm, right, was the gay competitor of Hitler. You know, to become the head of the Nazi movement, you know, before Hitler kind of consolidated his power fully. There was this guy, Ernst Röhm, and they were allies, but Ernst Röhm was a gay guy in the Nazi party, and it was kind of like an open secret, and it said that he had a special island that he used to go to, and that it was kind of known that he had like boys and young men there. And another one is General Bernard Montgomery, the much lauded war hero, English general, British general that defeated Rommel, the Desert Fox, in 43. But but you know, if you go back to the ancient world, there's even more examples, right? Yep. So when I watched this doco, the bit that sort of cemented it for me was how it sort of just explained the logistics and ins and outs of how it would have happened, sort of in this day and age, and also the bit that was really compelling for me was like talking to the mothers of these guys that are claiming to have been molested and the rest of the family, and you kind of see the fallout. You see them talking, and you're like, yeah, that is exactly how it would be. You know, your older brother would blame your mother, you know, and there would be all these different dynamics between people that sort of says that, you know, like, and it would take a long time to come to terms with stuff, and you know, but I felt like when I watched the mothers talking, I believed that they were telling the truth, and it just seemed like psychologically, like it would take 20 years to process that, you know, like if you go, my mum allowed me to be molested by Michael Jackson. That's going to take a fucking long time for a family to kind of, you know, process and come back together afterwards, you know. And I feel like it's just been long enough now. And when I watched that, I sort of saw all of that, you know, in these people. So I do kind of believe it. And you know, people are complaining that it's such a one-sided doco and it doesn't talk to anybody, you know. But the purpose of the goal of the doco isn't to like provide an all-round argument and, you know, for and against and that type of thing. You know, it's actually about it was just a chance to allow these guys to say what happened in their own words and sort of put forward their case unpolluted by the defense. And so, yeah, obviously listening to the allegation that it's based on is like the least we can do, right? But there are some people that are posting on Facebook and that type of thing. I don't really get them. Like these fans that are like from the other side of the world that have never met him, never met Michael Jackson, right? And they're going on Facebook. Never slept in his bed. They're going on Facebook and they're you know, proclaiming his innocence and so forth. And it's like, hang on a fucking minute. Like, this is not a game. The stakes are actually quite high, because if the allegations are false, then fine, you know, you have spoken up and now the reputation of a dead person you never met has been defended. But if the allegations turn out to be true, and this man in his 30s who never denied sleeping with little boys in his bed turns out to have been interfering with them, then you're publicly defending a pedophile and shouting down his victims all because you like his music. And you weren't even there. You don't know what the fuck happened. You never met Michael. So I just don't really get it. Why would you enable, you know, potentially, the stakes are high. You're potentially enabling child molestation and shouting down the victims and frightening other people from speaking up. So, and the reward, if you get it right, is like non-existent. You know, he's dead. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean,
and the people that are the worst are the people that boycott, that say they're boycotting the doco. It's like, well, hang on a fucking minute. You got to hear the allegations. You know, like, this is direct from the horse's mouth. This is what the person is claiming. So you've got to listen to it, and then you can say, dismiss it if you want to, right? But you've got to at least see the doco. So to boycott it and then speak publicly about it, that's like the definition of like defending the rapist and, you know, shouting down the victim.
Look, also, you know, you talked about, you know, it being, you know, this has happened through the ages, I guess. For powerful people, people
exactly.
doing despicable things, because the more power you have, the more you are able to quote unquote get away with, and I think that's the thing, is like, he was the most famous person at one time in the world, And also, he's like one of the most beloved people in the world at one time.
Which is why it's hard for people to have to turn around.
And also, you can't deny that he was one of the greatest musicians of all time.
Well, if you're into his music, which was overall pretty shit.
So, like sort of, who was sort of making great music for 30 years. So it's just very hard to, it's always hard in my brain and your brain and anyone's brain to reconcile your feelings of joy and respect, admiration and appreciation that you might have for the man's artistic work with the real life human being.
Yeah.
And that's what I think all these people going, well, hang on a fucking second, on Facebook are trying to do internally.
Yeah.
But also no one likes to be duped. No one likes to be tricked. So, we like, if these allegations are true, and to me, I think they seem like it makes perfect sense. The detail and the way that sexual abuse works, like, I know people that have been sexually abused, and I can tell you right now that one of them definitely did not speak up against the person that that sexually abused them. Did not speak up, and not only did not speak up, found out that it happened to other people and still did nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's this is a cycle. This is not
so simple.
And whether you're tricked into believing, like, these guys very much believed that they were in loving, caring relationships with Michael Jackson. They didn't understand they were being abused for many, many years afterwards. It wasn't that they just sort of, like, they're abused and they're immediately like, oh, this is horrible, this is horrific. Quite the opposite. They were like, this is a beautiful, loving relationship, and this is what we do to express our love for each other.
Yeah, that was all very interesting for me as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you would do it. That's a sensible way to do it, and it all just makes so much sense at how it would work.
Yeah.
But there is one question that I do kind of wish the documentary maker had asked the guys, the kids, which is it black or white? Serious question. How would you...
I can't believe that we've had this super serious conversation. Yes, you started off with a little bit of your stand-up routine. And you brought it back to that.
Well,
that's trivializing things a little bit.
No. That is a completely legitimate question. Okay, how about this? If he gets it wrong, then obviously he hasn't seen Michael's willy, has he? Is it black or white? Okay, like, in all seriousness, that surgery, was it an all-over body bleaching? Why, if they ask that type of specific detail, that will, help confirm or deny these allegations, and in particular, if they get it wrong, then it will help refute the allegations.
I think there's a lot of scary things about that documentary, but I think one of the scariest things about that documentary is we're the same age as those people that have been abused.
Yeah.
And for me, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan. I did the stuff that these kids did. I did like a talent show at school, and I did Michael Jackson's moves, and I danced to 2 of his songs. I used to watch his music videos with my friends. And we used to try and copy things. We just thought he was like the greatest thing ever. Now, if Michael Jackson had come to New Zealand and he had said, hey man, I hear that you do my moves. Do you want to come on stage with me? Of course you'd be like, yes, this is amazing. Like, and as soon as you get caught up and swept up, it's just so easy for him because of the position he's in. It's so easy for him. So for me, I felt like what was most, was his strategy, was his grooming, was so, I was like, man, that could be any kid of that age in the late 80s, early 90s, who was
not really me. I was
a fan.
I was not.
But for me, I could have been one of those kids had that series of circumstances came about, because these 2 people were plucked from Australia,
One of them was.
Oh, one of them was, sorry. And so it's just it's very, very disturbing. I there's no way, like, if you do believe he did it, you can't really listen to his music anymore, really.
Well, you can't. It is difficult to enjoy
in
something.
good conscience.
No, well, and also it's just difficult to enjoy. I think it takes away from it for sure. When you're listening to that music or watching that thing, suddenly it's like, I don't know, it definitely detracts from the art, and your impression of the art, at least in the short term. Like maybe in like thousands of years or hundreds of years, when you look back on ancient art, you kind of forgive the characters behind it. But like in our lives, it's like you're like, nah.
I mean, it really seems like quite a Jimmy Savile-esque scenario.
Except for it seems like Jimmy Savile was a lot more malicious. It does seem like Michael Jackson, as far as sexual molesters go, was like a gentlemanly one. Like. Like it seems like he was using a strategy of like sort of love as opposed to like fear. To get what he wanted, which is still equally abhorrent, but probably less horrid for the people involved.
Yeah,
that's another reason why it took so long to come out, was because they felt like it was just a loving relationship and it was just a friendship and that type of thing,
Yeah, and
which is not the same with Jimmy Savile, who was like a vicious rapist.
Also, there is I think there's a distinct, a lot of the sort of people that defend Michael Jackson are like, well, these people testified for him, and it's like, but if you were in a loving relationship with someone, and you really cared about this person, and you thought they really cared about you, and maybe they did really care about you, and then that person said to you, hey, look, these people want to attack me, they want to send me to jail, you've got to come to my aid, like, and you still didn't understand that you had been molested. That's to me the most logical thing is you go, yes, the person, my best friend, the person that I love, of course I will help you.
Yeah.
Of course I will, because we have this special relationship and I don't want that to go away. And then you kind of get a bit further down the line and like the level of bravery that these people have shown, because they are opening themselves up to basically every Michael Jackson fan in the world.
Death threats, all sorts of stuff.
Every Michael Jackson fan in the world come and say, hey, you're a liar. You're just trying to get money. I also know that like I sort of watched a sort of a follow-up doc about them, or a follow-up talk about them, and they didn't receive any money for that documentary. So they received zero like financial gain from that. But so they opened themselves up. So this horrible, horrible thing has happened to you. The worst possible thing that could really happen to you, maybe not the worst, but one of the worst, happens to you, and you decide to tell the world, hey, this is what happened to me, and the world turns on you and goes, you're fucking full of shit, and they open themselves up to that. So this is sort of incredible act of bravery where they really don't gain anything, and this is what they do
if they get a big multi-million-dollar court settlement. But they might already be quite well off anyway, because it sort of seems like they are.
Well, this is the thing though, like they did bring a lawsuit that was thrown out because it took too long, so it's still likely that they're not really going to get much money from this.
What's going to happen next though, here's my prediction, is that eventually Macaulay will come out.
Well,
when Macaulay comes out, then it'll all, everything will tumble down.
Well, this is my next point.
The other thing, though, I was thinking about this. If Michael Jackson was smart, he never molested Macaulay. He kept him as a high-profile proof that he's not a pedo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he does all the same things, minus the molestation, in order to have a high, because he was such a celebrity, Macaulay was such a celebrity, to have this high-profile voice speaking out in his defense. And all he ever did with him was maybe have a lot of fun and have cool times and hang out and ride the train and whatever.
And there's no denying that he was very intelligent and calculating, so that is possible.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is like people say, "Oh, he was like a child." This childlike way about him, and it's like, no. He was an incredibly successful businessman. He had a lot of interactions day to day about important stuff. You don't get to be the king of pop without fucking cutting a few heads off on your way up. It's like there's no way to get into these jobs without being a certain amount of like very intelligent and cunning and clinical about how you're going to do things and what your plan of attack is. So I feel like it's kind of a bit silly to reduce him down to this giddy 30-year-old man-child, 35-year-old man-child. You know, that's not the case.
And
that was a persona.
Yeah, and sort of, you know, as I was saying, like, these people came forward when really the main thing to gain was sort of negative. You know, to like,
he's
sharing
dead already.
I'm sharing the most personal thing I can, the most devastating thing that's happened to me, and now I'm gonna walk down the street and people are gonna call me full of shit and a liar and abuse me. Like, great. What, you know, you achieve very little from that apart from people to understand who Michael Jackson was, and for people who suffered from sexual abuse to start thinking about them coming forward as well. So it will be really interesting if more kids come forward, which is entirely possible. But it's also like, you know, I don't know if I've had this conversation with you, but the whole Macaulay Culkin thing is like, if he was molested, it is far easier for him right now to never speak of that, to continue to deny it for the rest of his life. It is much easier a life for him.
That's why this doco, well, that's all true. Yeah, it's much easier life for him. Why go through all that?
You know,
drama?
so, and especially if you've managed to bury it
to the doco might spark his return.
But especially if you've managed to sort of bury it to the point in your mind where it didn't happen.
Yeah, or it doesn't bother you anymore.
And then all this stuff comes up, and yes, you have a chance to validate these peoples and say, yes, this did actually happen. It would still be an incredibly difficult, incredibly hard choice to actually go through with that because...
Well, you're opening yourself up to legal repercussions too, potentially. And
not only that, you're then linked to that only for the rest of your life. So at the moment, he's a Macaulay Culkin child actor who hung out with Michael Jackson for a period of his life. If he comes forward and goes, yeah, actually, look, this did happen and it's really horrible, he's Macaulay Culkin, the guy that got molested by Michael Jackson, and that's all that anyone is going to want to talk about with him, well, really, for the rest of his life. And so you can absolutely understand why, and this is kind of true of anyone that this has happened to, because it's so high profile and because it's Michael Jackson, that, you know, it could have happened to a lot of people who are just not willing, as these two weren't at a certain point in their lives, to come forth. That is not a reason not to believe them now. So yeah. You thought Johnny Depp was going to be in that film?
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, because he was in Finding Neverland.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. I never watched that, so
right.
You
couldn't make any
gags about it. Otherwise, right. I would have. I did think it was funny that Finding Neverland and Leaving Neverland. You know, there's definitely some jokes to be made there about, I don't know, hiring the wrong one or something.
Oh, also, we did get a few messages on our live stream from UB Positive.
Shout out UB Positive.
They said, you know, with MSA and what Mark was going through, it's heartbreaking, and they're hoping to donate in about a week. So that is awesome. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And they also said that they're potentially siding with the accusers and can't listen to his music now, which, again, I totally understand. And they even mentioned that their 5-year-old is listening to his music and is one of her favorites, and now she doesn't really want to play that.
Play it so much. Yeah, well, it does. It takes a wee while to talk about, to even realize it yourself, I think. So, moving on.
Yeah, we've covered some great, we've really kept the podcast upbeat this week.
It's an upbeat one.
We've got
MSA, we've got double dodgy hips, that is potentially a huge issue.
Yep.
And we've got child molestation. Yep. Welcome along to the Gary and Harry podcast. In other news, I spoke at MIT for you.
You did. Came along.
Small audience.
My class is dwindling.
Yeah.
So essentially, I started off with 5 people in my class, so it was already a very small class.
Guy, what are you tutoring?
Digital media and design.
Digital media and design. You'd think I would know the name of it before I spoke at it, wouldn't you?
So the first casualty was a guy who never showed up to any of it. So from day one,
would he have paid, or he probably would have been refunded?
hard to know. But he never came, so he was struck from the record.
Yeah.
We were down to 4.
So that brings you down to 4.
But then someone else stopped coming.
And it's reached the stage where he or she
I sent some emails to follow up and didn't hear anything back, and now allegedly he's withdrawn from the course as well.
Okay.
So
you've got 3 left.
So I've got 3 left.
Now you've got a certain percentage rate that you need to aim for as a professional.
Absolutely.
That you need to get.
They all need to pass.
In terms of a pass or a fail, you as the tutor need to pass in order to keep your job. And this is probably a bit of a glitch in the system.
Absolutely.
You need to, in order to keep your job, you need to have a certain pass rate from your students.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you've got 3 students, I mean, that means when you've got 5 students, you need 2.5 of them to pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've only got 3 students now, so you need 2.5 of them to pass. So all 3 of them have got to pass in order for your original 5 to be, for the percentage of your original 5 to be right.
So they've taken off the guy that never came. Yep.
So now you just got to get 2 out of the 3 to pass.
That's true. Yeah.
That is definitely a flawed system. Yeah. That's a flawed system, because you should just be doing your best, and it's like, well, look, at the end of the day, if they fail,
that's not my fault.
Well, exactly. So you fail them because they failed. Yes. Whereas if you're passing them because you absolutely have to, because otherwise you can't pay the fucking rent, well, that's corruption. Essentially,
it's a little bit of a flaw in the system, but I will say that the remaining students
are going to pass, and they're all excellent students.
They are all very good, and they're all engaged, and I enjoy teaching them. So, look, I can't ask for anything more in terms of an environment when I come to. Like, I think that's the thing, is there's nothing more depressing if you come to teach and you've spent a lot of time preparing all this work, and you want them to learn because you're trying to help them. Like, essentially what I'm trying to do is give them all the skills that I have plus more in the time that we have together, so they can then go out into the world and make, sort of $50 an hour from now, as opposed to
from in their 30s,
from 35, and be doing minimum wage until 35, So I'm trying to give them the tools, man. Yeah. How do I reach these kids?
Yeah.
But they're all cool, so I think
you kind of look like Michael Jackson with your current ponytail hairstyle.
No, I don't look like Michael Jackson.
I'd give it a Michael Jackson-esque if I squinted. A little bit Michael Jackson. But you were saying, so they're good kids. So I went and I spoke at the school. Because Guy called in the resident expert on all things social media.
That's right.
And I showed up and just...
I called in the social media whore.
No,
I said, hey, I need your help. You've been prostituting yourself online for years.
What are the tricks? Yeah. And instead I showed up and just did some of my stand-up comedy.
You just practice. He essentially practiced his stand-up routine for an hour and a half.
Yeah. But with a theme of social media.
With a social media theme running through it.
Yeah.
But actually, they actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And there was definitely some good, look, at the end of the day, if you're thinking about how you're going to sell yourself and how you're going to market yourself, these are the most important questions. I think that within academic circles, people get very caught up on bullshit.
Yeah.
But not really think about...
snagged on the bullshit and not thinking about the practicalities.
Yeah, like the practical and the real, look, if you've made something awesome, whether that's written, visual, any art, who gives a fuck? It's how you get it out to your audience, to your masses, and that's
why sometimes you see shit content that's done really well, and it's because the content might not be that great, but they've really succeeded at the marketing.
Yeah, in fact, that's probably the most common form of sort of indie art that you see.
Yeah, I always think of Blair Witch Project. Like, I didn't mind that movie, but I didn't love it, but I didn't mind it. But it's a great example of the marketing selling something. If you just showed up with that movie, it might not have necessarily been very well received.
No, but when you had that marketing, if you showed up,
yeah. Well, I said with that movie, but to that movie, sure. If you if you created that movie and showed it to somebody, it's not necessarily going to take off. But if you market it the way they did with this ingenious marketing thing, which was a combination, a mishmash of real life sort of like ghost stories and myths, and sort of pretending it was real, and pretending it's a documentary, that was cutting edge at the time. That was pretty genius. So yeah, you got to get that. You got to get it out there somehow.
You got to know how to get it out there, and there was a lot of like, yes. So how do I gauge the success of a talker? Because we've had a speaker
in your class.
Is the connection with my younger student who's 16. So she's awesome. She does heaps of work. She's actually way more like her level of maturity is really impressive. Like I think about when I was 16 and like the piece of shit that I was.
Yeah.
And then I see this person who
shut up, old man.
I see this person who wants to learn, who comes to work, who's trying to improve and trying to get better, and also she is on the hustle. She's on the grind to try and get work, to try and also get work through through her passions, through the stuff that she wants to do. And that is like a million times more organized and more skilled than we were at 16. We were making Superstition Bites, which you can watch.
That's out now. We'll get to that.
On YouTube. So but so you see us there, and I talk to her, and you go, man, the world's come a long way, and the world's actually headed in a good place if there's more people like this around.
If she's taken over.
And so but she said like that was super helpful, super informative, and I wrote 2 pages of notes. And she's never written 2 pages of notes on anything.
Yeah. And
I've given her 2 pages of notes and written 2 pages of notes.
Yeah.
So you connected with the youth.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, there was a few good gags in there.
I don't know if the gags were well appreciated, but the information.
I'm an alcoholic. There was some good stuff in there.
The information was greatly appreciated.
A few heinies with my mum. It was good stuff.
The jokes. The jokes.
Well, look, I can't remember if it was on air on the Guy and Harley podcast or off air in the Guy and Harley Everyday Life, but you said at one point that all I had to do was be better than Isaac, who was really funny, which is a terrible thing to say to a person before they get up to speak in front of an audience, I might add. So tell me, Isaac doesn't listen to the show.
No.
So that's his his problem.
I can bury him on here.
Yeah. So you don't need to worry. Who was better?
So I would say, like, it all depends on what you were planning to do, because Isaac came...
Just say me. The answer is Harley.
Isaac came with a lot of good practical information about sort of camera work and camera technique. So if you're thinking videography and the stuff that you wanted to think about, he was good. But I would have to give the edge to you, because you were giving these very good, simple, practical things. Like, there was stuff in there that I was like...
Was that what he's doing in his room all the time?
I thought he was just jerking off.
But he's just jerking off. But I did think that 8 hours a day was a lot of jerking off.
But there was just a few things that I thought were quite interesting, and also the way that you phrased it was quite good. So if anything, it was the delivery of information was good. And that is actually sometimes the hardest part. It's the delivery of information being digestible, informative, and interesting all at the same time.
Yep. Well, it might be one of my strengths. Talking down to people.
It might be one of your strengths. Talking in a self-aggrandizing way about your own accomplishments.
That's it. That's how you describe it. That's it.
It might be one of your gifts.
Yeah. No, but I left that day feeling good. I was a bit anxious beforehand, because I didn't know. I was like, man, I'm so underqualified to be talking to a class about this type of thing.
Well, you think you feel underqualified?
You want to talk about imposter syndrome?
You want to talk about underqualified?
I didn't pass high school. Now this is a filmmaking podcast.
It's a podcast about our lives.
And my ex, the love of my life.
I wonder if you're going to talk about this.
Yeah. I was hesitant. But it has to come out eventually.
Well, you got nothing to lose now.
Yeah. Well, that too. My ex, the love of my life.
She's in my notes here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
okay.
just wrote it down there.
You got a note. Okay, that's good. The love of my life, mi reina, my queen, is now she will remain nameless, I guess, because
Why haven't you named her a million times on this podcast?
Yeah, but in this particular story, I mean, like, you know, like she hasn't made public announcements. She
Okay.
hasn't gone public. She's told her
It's just about
friends
to say
and
her
family,
name.
but she hasn't gone public. Now, I don't know how many of the people that actually know her listen to the Guy and Harley podcast. Probably very few.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, my ex-girlfriend, the love of my life, my queen, is pregnant with
Preggers.
someone else's baby.
Prego.
So you could say she's taking this whole breaking up with me thing quite seriously.
After 2 years.
So yeah, but I always kind of felt like maybe there was this little hope at the back of my mind. You know, she might come back. It might work out in some way, and ultimately that being apart for a little while would be very good for both of us, and we would go away and sort of mature and get things out of our system, and then come back with a renewed focus, and then you know, settle down and probably, you know, make a family eventually. That was a hope, you know, and a far away hope. I kind of accepted that was never going to happen, but I was like, it could happen. It could happen. It's open. Yeah. But now maybe not so much. And now there's her boyfriend, right? This fucking schmo, this fucking less blue-eyed, less tattooed, less creative poor man's impersonation of Harley Neville.
With hair.
With hair. Not on his back, presumably. You know, this is absolutely bullshit. It's like this is pretty. I feel like this is sort of bullshit. You know, like we had a great relationship for 5 years, and you know, it's like when you've been sitting on one pokey machine at the casino all night, and then you get up to go to the toilet, and some cunt sits down and hits the fucking jackpot. You know, now I know how the duped foster mother of a cuckoo egg feels when it finally hatches. That one's for the ornithologist listeners. We wouldn't expect you to get it, Guy. But on the upside, at least in 10 years, when she hits the second wave of the single cycle and comes back to New Zealand, I'll still be here waiting like a stone. And her kid will have blue eyes, so if I squint, I might be able to pretend it's mine when I ultimately adopt it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's that news.
I didn't think, adopting a son would be in your future. But,
Well, neither did I, but things have changed now. And so
things and realities have changed.
I've started the preliminary paperwork just to have it ready for when she arrives. You know, then it's we just got to sign it and kind of we can fill out the name and stuff like that. But I'm waiting like a stone.
Well, I think
I'll be here.
I think we all have those.
Like a stone.
We all have those people in our lives that we maybe sort of hold out a bit of a candle for. And you just in the back of your head, you go, probably
could happen.
Probably won't happen, but it could happen. Like, there's always a chance that it could happen. And then a event happens that you just go, that just really killed that concept. That just really killed it dead. Like,
yeah.
Right off the bat, like it just really just destroyed all.
Absolutely. Like if she broke up with her boyfriend today, she still wouldn't be moving across the world with a new baby and having it in New Zealand, like stealing this baby away from his family and the father, you know?
Also,
that's not going to happen. That's, you know, I can hope, but it's not going to happen.
Also, like, you know, the other thing is, like, I feel like there's way more hope if someone gets married.
Yeah, well,
you know, like, because lots of people get married.
Infidelity is like fucking common as.
Infidelity is 9/10 of the law.
Exactly.
And also, like, but also just the idea of like get married. Yeah, you know how many people get divorced or break up after they're married? 50%.
Yeah.
I've still got a 50% chance
that this could work out.
I'm 50% good with that.
Yeah.
But you know, when they have a kid with someone who's not you, it's a real slap in the face.
Well,
you know?
Everything changes.
It's a real, and then there's a lot more complicated elements at play. Of like, okay, so you know, if all these things, like it's not just if one thing, if this person breaks up with a boyfriend, if they get a divorce. It's like, if all those things plus this kid, also, no one likes the stepdad.
No.
Nobody likes the stepdad.
My intention would be to steal her away before the child is old enough to realize I'm not the father.
Oh, I get it.
10 years, I said 10 years earlier about her finishing the single cycle and me adopting. But in reality,
you're hoping for 2.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping in the next 2 years, the whole thing implodes. She goes, I'm going back to New Zealand to be with Harley.
Yeah.
And she brings her baby who has blue eyes.
Hey, man, to be
and
honest.
I can just pretend it's mine.
To be honest.
And I'll raise it with her.
You could totally make that work.
I could make that work.
You actually got still, now that you've pitched this idea to me, you've actually got a 2-year window here.
Yeah, I do.
You've really got a 2-year window where you can hold out all the same hopes you did, that you've just replaced your seed with this dude's.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing. Everything else can remain the same.
Yeah.
So actually, you've still got 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
It's not all doom and gloom. Yeah, I mean, in the animal kingdom, it's not unheard of when a new lion takes over the pride for him to dismiss the cubs of the previous head, and restart with his own seeds.
Yeah.
No, I'm not suggesting I would do that. I'm just saying there's a precedent.
You're just saying that there's a possibility.
Now, you be positive on the live stream says he or she has got his or her favorite filmmaking podcast playing on one side, doing some rotoscoping for VFX work on the left. That's good. We hope to inspire the creatives out there. That's what we do.
I love it. I sometimes have my sort of YouTube tutorials of people talking about film work on one side while I'm editing on my other screen. But I also find that I definitely work slower when I do that.
Yeah, because
I work
thinking
happier.
about something else.
I work happier, but I work slower. So, it's a 50-50. But I guess, the other thing about this MSA, documentary is that I'm also sort of watching a lot of tutorials about camera work and camera technique and all that sort of thing, because I want to do a really good job with it. I'm just going in there as sort of a one-man shooter. And that is what I do as a videographer. But as a videographer, it's not quite the same. As a videographer, it's like you go to an event, you're trying to capture it as best as you can. But, this is a documentary. This is serious. This is weighty stuff. And so I want to do the best job possible. So I'm having to learn about all the things that I've tried my best to avoid, such as grayscales and waveforms.
Nah, you'll be fine. Docos are all about the edit.
It's true.
Fine. Just shoot it on a fucking cell phone, edit it.
My God.
Away you go.
The worst advice.
Robert's your father's brother,
I go, look, thank you for all the donations. I've decided to take Harley's advice and shoot it on my phone.
Those donations
the
would
edit
still
will
cover
be fine.
the flights.
The edit will be fine.
The edit is where the doco gets made, though.
Look, absolutely. The edit is very, very important, but it does help if you start off with some good footage.
Well, I mean, it is a cherry on top.
Yeah. But yeah, so I want to do the best job possible. So I'm inspired to work harder at my sort of, what I would say is my side craft, because my craft is a writer. Bitch. Yeah, I'm a writer director. That's my true writer director, sometimes editor. That's my true skill set. Videographer, filmmaker, cameraman. That's my secondary. So I'm trying to make my secondary my primary.
Well, just temporarily, right?
Just temporarily.
Yeah.
But for being as prepared as I can be for this doc. Yeah.
Sometimes people ask me, or they wonder, where I get all my confidence from. That's what they say. And I just wanted to shout out.
There's a funny question.
Yeah, it is a little odd.
I mean, do they mean arrogance?
Confidence. Confidence. That was the word I heard.
That's the word that in your head you heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
When you read the one that begins with A.
Yeah. So the reason, the reason I have so much confidence is shout out to the beer lovers. that have been supporting me for all of these years. These guys on the internet that like hairy men that always have something complimentary to say. You know, you want to know what the great thing about having a following in the bear community is, Guy? These men like chubby men with hairy backs, which is what I'm ultimately doomed to become. So I can't really put a foot wrong here. And most Instagram models, right? People are trying to blow up on Instagram. Most Instagram models have to worry about their shelf life and sort of declining over time. Whereas in the bear community, they look forward to it. They're looking forward to me deteriorating into a fat, hairy old man, right? So I feel like $1 million, basically. So yeah, a lot of my confidence comes from the beer lovers. Shout out to them.
Well, yeah, I mean that they are funding your OnlyFans.
Yeah, onlyfans.com/hairy navel if you would like to contribute. I have the minimum payout on hairy. Okay, the minimum payout on OnlyFans is €85. That's the minimum they will pay you out. I'm currently at €75. That's fucking easy money, my friend. Easy money.
Getting ready for that big payout.
Yeah, easy money. But yeah, so anyway, my ex is pregnant.
Yeah.
The woman I took to the TV awards recently, she's got a new boyfriend.
Oh, really?
She's got a new boyfriend.
Oh, that's a cool update.
She's in a relationship.
Have you seen the guy?
Yes. He was like a carver. He seemed like a creative carver type. So he's like a carving statues type carving, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, what's the hair on the head status?
Oh, he's got more hair than me, but you know that's to be expected.
Sure.
Yeah, and he's almost certainly got less hair on his back, one has to assume.
Yeah,
but
without question.
Yeah, no, I if I recall correctly, he had a full head of hair. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, the former loves of my lives, not to be dramatic. They've all moved on. Everyone's moving on. My ex from high school, she's just had her first baby. My first love. We'll call her Karen. She's just had her.
She's had it.
She's had her baby.
Are you friends with her on Facebook?
Yeah. Although you wouldn't know it because she never interacts with me, or likes or in any way.
She does her best to completely ignore you, while you like on 50 million things of her stuff.
I like all her pictures. Yeah. So anyway, here I am sitting, single and unfuckable, evidently. So
completely unfuckable.
So you're my best friend, Guy.
Yeah.
You got to be honest with me.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Okay.
Is it possible that I'm not as hot as I think I am?
I would go out on a limb and say that sometimes the way that you see yourself and talk about yourself may be somewhat misinformed.
I know, right? So I'm definitely hot enough.
But I
wonder what it is.
I do really think that the hair thing is
having no head hair.
No,
or having too much back hair.
Having too much back hair.
Yeah.
The no hair on your head. That's fine. That's all good. There's a lot of people that are very accepting of that.
Yeah.
Although still a sort of a minus in some people's category. Yeah. The height thing also. Big minus in many people's categories. Yeah. Big minus. But I really think that because you've been validated by the beer lovers, and because you've been and because you've been hairy for so long, you underestimate how disgusting it is. And so
I have come to terms with it.
Yeah, because once upon a time you used to kind of shave it into a more
acceptable,
aesthetically pleasing look.
Yeah.
Where it was just really your hairy chest.
Well, I would still look. The thing is, mate, it's a fucking catch-22.
But when did you do the back last? Like what I'm saying.
Okay. Look, listen.
Years.
That's all well and good. But here's the thing: it's a catch-22. I can't shave my own back without a woman to help me, and I can't get a woman to help me if I don't shave my back.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a hairy back 22.
It's a vicious cycle. It's a circle. It's a oh shit, I can't remember that. What's that thing from True Detective? Time is a flat circle. Your hairy back is a flat circle.
Yeah, my
Thank
back
you.
is a flat circle. yeah, well, yeah, you might be right. But,
Well, no, you've got what I've got. What you need is the back blade.
Yeah.
The back blade will
back
come to your aid.
Yeah.
I'll
just use your one, and then the back blade will come to my aids.
Well, the back blade, dad joke number. Well, it's like number 1 or number 2, depending on definition.
Getting aids from your back blade.
Yeah, some of I mean, there was some other jokes earlier that could be construed as a dad joke. Yeah.
Is it black or white?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real gem.
No, look. I do consider myself a reasonably eligible bachelor, and I know that no woman, when describing her dream man,
would describe you.
Is ever going to say, yeah, a short, bald man in his mid-30s, please. I'll have one of those.
Yeah.
But in a real life kind of way, I'm pretty fucking eligible. All right, I'm a chill dude. I've got hardly any enemies, and those that remain will be smitten at my leisure. Now, why is this so difficult? Okay, I don't think I'm a bad-looking guy. My finances are fine by lower middle class standards.
Uh-huh.
So I've done kind of all the things that I assume women would find attractive, but it's not working. So I'm either absolutely hideous,
yeah,
or I have no understanding what women want. Those are my choices.
To be honest, I think it's probably a beautiful middle ground between those two.
You're reasonably hideous and don't really know what women want.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Thank you. Here are the things that I assume that women would, in their late 20s and early 30s, would find attractive in a prospective partner. Like, am I really that far off? Okay, I'm employed. I'm motivated. Chicks dig that shit. I've got a sense of humor. I read. Chicks dig that shit. Okay, I regularly do interesting things and go on adventures. Chicks dig that shit. I'm super responsible. No debts. Chicks dig that shit. Okay, I go to the gym. I cook. I eat healthy. I'm tidy. I'm hygienic. I'm even a little rough around the edges with a dash of bad boy about me. But I've got a clean record and no gang affiliations. I've got this dreamboat shit on lock. Okay, somebody needs to schnapple this man up immediately, please, because this is hubby material sitting right here, rotting on the fucking vine. So to any 5150 lady listeners, it's like the land before time. I am, metaphorically speaking, the Great Valley, and you've finally found me.
Hey, so what happened at the end of The Land Before Time?
Well, don't they get to the Great Valley?
Was that it?
Yeah.
Man, I've seen that a million times, and I actually literally have no concept of the plot, except there's a little baby dinosaur in it.
Right, you probably need to, maybe you need to rewatch.
As I recall, it was kind of a dark edge to it.
Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, all the parents are dead. Like when they get back to when they get back to the valley, they don't magically have their parents again, as far as I'm aware. The mum's still dead. So it's always had like a bit of a bleak, angle to it.
Remake of Dumbo, are you going to see that?
Absolutely not.
Remake of The Lion King, you going to see that?
I would like to, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it. But I'm a big fan of the originals, obviously.
Remake
the original.
Oh, come on. Yeah, remake of Aladdin. You going to see that?
Nah, I mean,
come on, Aladdin.
These things are all special to my, to my youth, but I guess I just don't really trust modern filmmakers to actually do a decent job. Plus, there's the fact that I'm not the same audience member that I was, 25 years ago when I was into it, and so I'm not the target audience.
You no longer masturbate to Princess Jasmine anymore.
Well, that's not a fair statement. That's an assumption, and it's unfair. It's an unfair assumption.
Yeah. Who says you can't still remember the girls of your childhood fondly?
Exactly. Miss Elizabeth.
Miss Elizabeth.
Rest her soul.
Rest in peace, Miss Liz. Yeah.
And so yeah. Where are we going with that?
I was just wondering if you were going to watch those movies. Well, no.
Yeah. Basically, I just feel like they would only do a disservice to the memory of the old ones,
right?
Because I'm not the audience member that would appreciate them anymore.
Right. Well, I guess we should now. This is kind of a funny story because this sums up my life quite accurately, and it's actually not that funny, which also sums up my life quite accurately.
Can you talk while I go and pee?
Yeah, be pretty quick because I might run out of words.
If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out.
But essentially, not yesterday, but last weekend, I went to go see Us. Us is by the director Jordan Peele, who was part of did the amazing sketch comedy Key and Peele, which you can see a lot of on YouTube, but I highly recommend that as a comedy show. It's one of the best skit-based comedy shows in the last, ever, but in the last 10, 20 years, for sure. So he's great. He went on to do Get Out, which is also an excellent film, which again was kind of completely different, but totally freaky and interesting and a little bit subversive and all great stuff. So in terms of horror movies that have come out in the last few years, that is right up there. And so I went to see Us last weekend, and I gotta say, Sifty 150 listener Kieran was like, hey man, you better stop what you're doing and check this out right now. I did stop what I was doing and checked it out right now, or right then. And although, yes, it was good. Yes, it was very visually compelling and interesting. Yes, it was a different type of story. There was a few things. I think this is a problem, is when you get into the logic and the rules of the film, when you establish those and you kind of break them, or your issues the film sort of raises a few too many questions, and I don't mean good questions. I mean you go, well, hang on a second. If this is that, then how could this, and this work? And I think that was my problem with Us, is what I'm talking about, the new film that's just come out.
Right, which I haven't seen.
Which you haven't seen. So I'm not going to spoil it.
Bevan Reed's here. Shout out Bevan Reed on the live stream.
Shout out to Bevan. Is that it raised too many questions. And it was one of these kind of, I know someone equated to it's like an episode of The Twilight Zone, which I totally agree with. It's exactly like an episode of The Twilight Zone. It's kind of this freaky concept with these super big ramifications. However, if it goes on more than, if you really think about it as a whole movie as opposed to an episode of a TV series, you go, I'm not sure if I can really get on board with some of these things that you've brought up. Irene says, guy looks better without the beard. That's just a message from our new listener, Bevan. Well,
yep.
Thank you, Irene. That's very nice of you to say. I'm not sure I agree.
Well, is it? Is it?
Well,
is that a nice thing to say? Or is it not? It could be either way. You look better with a beard.
Yeah.
That's sort of nice, but it's also saying you look better if you do something. If you're in your natural state, that's not good.
Well, no, I am. It says without a beard, so I'm in my natural state, no beard.
Oh, you look better without a beard.
Yeah,
you're right. But so that's also saying that the look I normally have is not very good, because I get this. I actually had a Bumble date, and I had
Oh man, can we talk about some of the things that she said on that date with you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's pretty funny.
Well, okay, so hang on. So
we better
consolidate.
Let's just wrap up.
Yeah.
So for me, Us, good, definitely worth a watch, but definitely a little bit too many question marks. Also, I said it was like an episode of The Twilight Zone. He is also making a new version of The Twilight Zone.
Is this Jordan Peele?
It is Jordan Peele, so there's no doubt that he's very heavily influenced by that. But yeah, there was just a few too many questions where you're at the end where you're kind of okay, so if that is the case, then we really have to reevaluate every fucking thing in this movie, and not necessarily in a good way.
I hope you didn't give any spoilers.
No,
good.
So that was my review of Us, but I will also just say that to see Us, because I haven't been watching any movies, I haven't been watching really much of anything. I've just been working like a son of a bitch. And to see Us, I was like, okay, cool. I'm really tired, but I'll go see Us now.
At the cinema?
At the cinema instead of going to bed, because I really want to see it. Someone wants to go, so we'll do it. So I went and I did that. But then that caused me to have to go to bed afterwards, which is when I would be Ubering. And because I missed out on my nap, I only managed to Uber for about 2 hours when I woke back up at 3 a.m. and it just threw everything out of whack. I essentially lost a day.
Oh, fuck getting up at 3 a.m. to go Ubering.
I lost a day of Ubering to
Yeah.
see Us. Now, was it worth it? Yes. Like in the sense that I love movies and I should probably watch more movies
also-
than one
yeah.
per never.
Yeah.
But was it worth it for my life in terms of my comfortability this week, in terms of not having that extra money? No. I am very poor and it's a real struggle. So don't on to your amazing date.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you be positive on the live stream also said, and I don't know if you talked about this while I was
No,
away.
I didn't mention it.
It goes, referring to The Land Before Time, the mum dinosaur dying scene is a total tearjerker even at 32. And I agree. It's very difficult to come to that one. But I did have a good cry wink and I got there. So
You got through it at the end.
yeah.
That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Now, okay, we'll get to this date when I find my notes on it. But I do have a related topic, which is, I said about the woman that I took to the TV awards. I took her to the TV awards. She was my first public Facebook date since She Who Shall Not Be Named left me.
And got pregnant.
And left me shacked up with some fucking imitation of me.
2
and then
years
got
later.
knocked up.
And got pregnant.
Yeah.
2 years after
Yeah.
breaking up
Yeah.
with you. So this wasn't a real recent, like, hey, she left me,
No.
and then I found this out a month later.
No, it was 2 years. Close to 2 years. Yeah. But anyway, I was thinking about the woman that the other woman that left me recently, the one that I went on the TVNZ Awards date with. She was petite and athletic and exotic, chasing her dreams, creative and busy being creative, and all as per my first dates NZ sort of thing that I'm looking for in a potential partner. And I was thinking about her, and I do kind of wonder, because you brought this up as well. You brought this up about the being so hairy, and maybe the hairy thing is a bit of an issue with my physical appearance, and that maybe it's something I should, sort of look after. And so I was kind of thinking about what you said, and I was like, well, I do wonder if maybe with this woman, maybe my hairy chest and shoulders and back might have played a factor in her decision to stop seeing me. She's Chinese, and I don't think it's unfair or racist to say that I'm hairier than 99.9% of her compatriots.
I would say 100%.
A population of 1.2 billion people. Statistically, it's pretty unlikely that she's ever encountered anything like this before. And no doubt that's a bit of a shock, right? After all that, what are the chances that she's one of the few women in the world who actually find hairy shoulders and backs attractive?
The 1%.
Yeah. What are the chances she's one of them, right? In the straight bear community, we call them unicorns. Because nobody's ever met one, but the legend says that there are women out there that are attracted to hairy backs. That's what the legend says. So the chances were always quite high that she would not be thrilled at the concept of running her hands through my sweaty back hair in a carnal embrace at some point in the future. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
So, here's the thing. To put this in perspective, right? If 9 Chinese people are in a room and I walk in, the safe money says I'm the hairiest person in that room, right?
Yeah.
Surely that's a safe bet. Right? If 99 Chinese people are in a room and I step into that room, would you say I'm likely to be the hairiest person there?
Yes.
Okay. So if 1.2 billion Chinese people were in a room and I stepped into the room, what percentile would you say I'd be in? Top 50? Top 10? Top 1?
Top 1.
Top 1. Okay, so obviously I acknowledge that there are some hairy Chinese people out there, but you can't really get much hairier than me before you're no longer classed as Homo sapiens.
Exactly.
So in her traditional Chinese society, the chances of her encountering a lover as hairy as me are what you would describe as statistically insignificant. She's more likely to be struck by lightning than she is to fuck a guy as hairy as me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, look, I can't blame her if my hairiness was a contributing factor to her lack of interest in me.
Yeah.
Imagine wanting to cuddle me while you fall asleep, guy. Just try to imagine that.
Look, I've had, this is the thing. I see you with your top off sometimes.
Yeah. And I'd love to cuddle him and fall asleep.
And I've seen that for 15 years or however long it's been since you've really got really disgustingly hairy.
Yeah.
And, it never ceases
To amaze.
to disgust. Is actually what I was going to say. Never ceases to disgust me. It never ceases for me to be like, fuck, put a t-shirt on, you fucking hairy bastard. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
we don't need to see that.
I do feel a little sorry for our
don't need
flatmates.
that.
I do feel a little sorry for our flatmates.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
And their guests. Who are also subjected regularly to my hairy body. But so imagine trying to cuddle, while you fall asleep, but you can't because my hairy shoulder hair is
tickling your nose,
tickling your nostrils every time you breathe in. You can't do that. You can't sleep cuddling like that all night. It's out of the question. Being this hairy is basically like being a leper in that sense. Now obviously I could remove the hair, but the thing is, there's the whole catch-22 issue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do wonder if it was a factor. I don't really blame her. I wish her well. She's listening. I'd just like to point out that I'm willing to give her a second chance. And if she wants to just drop off this other guy,
this carver,
I'm standing by. And I'm open to the concept of, forgiving you. Giving you a second date. Yeah, so that's the deal with that. Now, in regard to the date, I did actually go on a date, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I matched with this woman on Tinder, actually, and I started messaging her. I gave up on Bumble because all the ladies are abusing the system. If I need to match with you, then receive a first message from you, and that first message is, "Hey," and then I need to write a witty introduction to get back to you and all that stuff, then I might as well just go on Tinder and avoid jumping through all those hoops because, all you're really getting is the connection, but you've jumped through several hoops to get there.
Yeah.
Now, Irene on the live stream, Bevan says that Irene, his missus, says that hairy is better than spiky shaved. And you know what, Irene? You're fucking right.
Okay.
You are absolutely right. And I have had much personal experience with this situation where I'm like, okay, I'll shave up. So I shave, right? And okay, I look good for a day and I'm reasonably smooth, just semi-spiky, just for a day, and then after that, you're spiky for ages. There's a whole cycle where basically waxing and shaving is not really worth it because you wax, you shave, you get one day, you're good. Second day, or a few days later, you start getting spiky. Then you start getting, it turns worse and worse until it becomes sandpaper, and then you start getting ingrown hairs and pimples and shit. So instead of having a hairy chest, you've got a pimply chest. It's just disgusting. And then finally it reaches what I call the golden period, where it's sort of just short enough that you can't really see it. It's not too offensive to look at, but it's not so short that it's spiky. That's kind of the golden zone, and there is a bit of a wee while there, but you're still hairy. You're not trying to disguise the fact that you've got hair. It's short and it's
You've
kind of
tamed
reputable. It's tamed, yeah, exactly. But yeah, so anyway. The interesting thing about whole Tinder Bumble thing is that my Bumble is a little more serious, like I might actually be trying to get a girlfriend, whereas my Tinder's a bit more silly, and I've got the half hairy meme on it and several other photos where I'm clearly very hairy, and yet I matched with somebody recently despite her seeing those photos, and because it was Tinder, not Bumble, right? So one can only deduce that she is comfortable romantically and sexually with a man that hairy, and she might even be the mythical unicorn, which is what we call them in the straight beer community.
Well,
right?
Also she might have thought it was a joke.
Well, she might have, but I mean, she might.
It's like pure comedy. Like, hey, remember that time that I stuck a bunch of hair on my body and pretended I was disgustingly hairy?
To make a meme for the internet.
Remember that? Yeah. That makes to me as much sense as you being as hairy as you are.
Yeah.
So I might put that down to
well, you might be right.
Comedy.
You might be right.
But anyway.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I asked her out and she didn't reply for a while, and I thought, well, the sweaty balls are in your court now. I've done all I can. But then she got back to me and she said yes. But there was a couple of red flags. She was a good-looking lady. Attractive woman, 30 years old. But there was a couple of red flags. She sent me a message the day before we met. You have to tell me, beard or no beard at the moment? And I said that depends what she prefers because I've got options at the moment. which means I've got a big fucking beard. And as I waited for her response, I looked at her profile picture. So she asked me that. She asked me if I had a beard or not, and as I looked at her profile picture wistfully and thought to myself, "Be careful, you beautiful fool. This is a test." Because obviously, if she said no beard, I was gonna have to fucking get rid of her. Which unfortunately she did fail dismally. The following sentences were uttered. "I'm not a fan of beards." When asked what defines a beard, she replied, "Any facial hair is a beard, I reckon." And then she said, "I've been cruising through your profile pictures. You look better without it." Now, that's kind of what Irene said about you before. And
Yep.
I was thinking, well, hang on a fucking second here. I am sick of being persecuted by the matriarchy, okay? Imagine this in reverse, lady listeners. Please, humor me here. You're just about to meet a guy for the first time on a first date, and before you've even met him, he's telling you how you should be presented, whether he wants your hair up or down, for example, all based off your photos. Excuse me? Okay, that's red flag. That was a red flag. So I went to the date with a fucking beard, obviously.
As a test.
Because the thing is, I mean, well, for a start, I had no fucking idea that she was part of the mustache Stapo, and but also,
All right, that's like a World War II dad joke.
I've reached my ultimate form.
Yeah. Super Saiyan level 3 with that one.
I tied it up, and I did tidy it up a little bit and stuff. So anyway, but the fucked thing was that she says I looked better without a beard, right? And yet she matched me on Tinder, and I went back and I checked my Tinder pictures, and there's 6 photos there, and in literally all of them I have a beard. And then I went and checked my Facebook because we became Facebook friends. I checked my Facebook. My last non-bearded profile picture was 3 years ago.
So she really scrolled back.
Well, that too, but also just like, come on, I'm obviously going to have a goddamn beard. But yeah, anyway, I figured I'd have a beard as a test, because basically the woman that is the one, even if the woman that is the one is anti-beards, she will think it's funny and cool that I showed up with a beard. But anyway, I went to the barber to get my beard like professionally, shaped and done. And I actually was having my hair cut by a beautiful woman, and she was an Iranian woman, and we chatted, and I said I was going on a date, and she said she decided to bring up one of her dating stories. She said one time she went on a Tinder date with a guy. They met. He bought her a drink, and then she said she had to go move her car. So she went back to her car, got in, blocked his number, and drove away. And when I asked her why, she said that it was because in his pictures he had been wearing a big jacket, but when she saw him in real life, he had skinny arms. And she said she didn't want to be with a guy who had arms that were skinnier than her. Skinnier than hers,
That's what you call some superficial.
Well, is it
ghosting?
I mean, you're right.
Superficial ghosting.
Superficial ghosting. I mean, I would never do that. If I walked in there and the woman looked completely different to her pictures, I would still sit down and have a drink with her and hang out with her for however many hours and just chill. I mean, it's not going to be any other plan. We can still become friends, And if she's not, if she's got a nice personality, we can still hang out. I wouldn't leave her. I wouldn't just fucking ghost her. I mean, that's brutal. I mean, sure, make an excuse and go, but don't act like you're coming back and leave the poor bastard sitting there with 2 drinks waiting for you. The poor
that he can barely hold with his skinny arms.
Exactly.
Probably trembling and wavering in his hand because they're so skinny, and he's like, man, I hope she's coming back soon.
I can't hold this any longer. Yeah, that poor son of a bitch would have felt like shit, and he probably would have hung out for 30 minutes. 45 minutes,
solid 30,
an hour, even.
Solid 30.
You'd be like, okay, well, 30 minutes. It does take a while sometimes to get a park, yada yada.
She had to park miles away.
Yeah, she had to walk there. She's not texting me back. Must be driving. And so yeah, all jokes aside though, imagine matching with somebody on Tinder, seeing all 5 profile pictures, seeing the beard, and then saying don't show up with a beard. The hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, look, it's not logical, but continue with this date.
Well, so we went out for some drinks. I don't know which bits you're excited about, but we did go out for some drinks. And then it was after the date, right? And the drinks were near my house. So we walked back to my house because it was kind of on the way to where she was going. And then she called an Uber from outside my place. And so then there we were, possibly about to have a romantic interlude outside my house. Maybe it might have been the time if there was going to be a kiss that evening. That was probably when that kiss would be. When who shows up? My best friend, my fucking best friend Gary, the disabled Uber driver with a mullet and his boot full of camera gear that he needs a fucking hand with.
Like multiple trips.
And she goes to me, should we help him? And I was like, no, he'll be fine. Trying to recapture the moment. No, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, your hair looks beautiful in the moonlight tonight.
Yeah.
But no, like, because Guy was there. There's an old saying from the front lines: hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Okay? Well, in the dating war zone, it's the opposite. You expect the worst and you prepare for the best. So, when I have a date, you better believe my bed is made. You expect the worst, but you prepare for the best. You got to have the bed made. You got to have clean undies on, right? Okay? So, yeah, it wouldn't be good if I brought it back to my room and it looked like that. But anyway, what did you remember?
I just thought it was hilarious how she called out a co-worker for their baldness.
Oh, yeah, so she goes...
And you were just sitting there, bald as the day is long, and going, I'm bald. I have the same problem as this guy that you've just dismissed as a bald cunt.
Yeah, well, because what she said that, because she was single, and she said a lot of her friends, we're talking about why you're single and, these types of things. And she said that a lot of her friends... have partners, and that when they want to, have like a girls' night, that they often bring their partners, and it's meant to be a fucking girls' night. And she was like, yeah, so one of my, girlfriends has got this boyfriend. He's like 47 years old or whatever, and he's always coming along to our girls' nights. And there he is, just sitting there with his bald head. and I was sitting there with my bald head,
just going,
yeah.
Did you have your cap on at that point?
I probably did.
Right.
I don't like to date unprotected. From the sun. So yeah. No. She knew I was bald though. I mean, like, like my profile
There's
pictures
the thing,
had
like,
me bald. It wasn't like a secret.
But it's just weird that you would call out, like, specifically a physical thing about this person that the person opposite you
has
quite blatantly.
Yeah.
And what were you expecting him to do?
Yeah.
Because
grow some fucking hair?
because you could have taken it in a completely different direction and gone, like, just right there you could have gone, yeah, well, I'm bald. Like, you could have just said that. Like, that's not an unreasonable statement to make.
Yeah.
After she just said, what did she say? Just sitting there with his bald head.
Sitting there with his bald head.
Like, you could have just gone, yeah, I'm sitting here with a bald head.
Yeah.
Is there a problem with that?
Yeah.
You didn't, obviously, for
No.
the sake of diplomacy, but...
Was that what you call it?
Yeah. Debonacy.
Yeah.
For the sake of a debonacy.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, like, but it's just funny that she just thought that was appropriate, I guess.
Yeah.
And then she thought, presumably, that you would chuckle at
Well,
that?
I did. It was funny.
I mean, yeah.
To be fair, I mean, I'm not above laughing at myself.
Yeah.
And I instantly saw the humor in the entire situation. Not just in what she was saying, but in the situation of me sitting there with a bald head.
Yeah.
I saw the humor.
It's all good comedy.
It's good comedy.
Which we will use in a future Pigville episode, no doubt, when someone says exactly that. We also do have another message from Bevan.
Irene is Bevan's missus.
Yeah.
Shout out Irene. Irene is from Russia, and she says that in Russia it's believed that hairy men are better in bed. And that's true.
Well,
that is absolutely true.
It gives me...
I've fucked a lot of hairy men, and they're really good.
Well, it's funny because that, like, you know, because I'm actually also quite hairy. I don't want to dismiss my hairiness.
No, I mean, in normal circumstances,
I'm
you would
quite
be
a
considered
hairy guy, but I'm so.
But next to me,
I'm like a hairless guy.
Yeah.
Next to you. Because
Yeah.
you're so hairy.
like a baby.
So exactly. so exactly. My hair is like baby hair
Yeah.
compared to your hair.
Yeah.
So that means that you fuck like 80% better than me.
Yeah.
Going by
the
this,
hair ratio.
of this logic
Yeah,
of
in Russia.
yeah.
Well, look, Irene, if you'd like to introduce me to any Russian women, you
Yep.
are welcome to open with that statement about hairy men being better in bed
And how hairy
and how hairy
specifically
I am.
you are.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay with all of that. I mean, ultimately, she's going to be disappointed, but by then it's too late.
It's too late.
It's too late.
She's committed.
She's already receiving the lackluster thruster from my semi-soft grandfather cock while running her hands through my sweaty, hairy back. so yeah. But introduce me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was the wrap up of after I killed the buzz of coming through, and also making a comment about like, hey, don't get up. I was grumpy because you'd parked in the driveway.
Yeah.
And I had to park out of the driveway, which I don't normally actually care about, but I always am annoyed by it.
Yeah.
When I have to bring my gear in.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously harder to bring my gear in from the driveway as opposed to you got to wheel it down the road and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, you know, don't get up, mate, or whatever I
Did
said.
you say that?
I think I said something like that.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I was like,
yeah,
fuck off, dickhead. I was like, ha ha ha. Actually, I'm a little bit busy at the moment. Maybe you could be elsewhere. Maybe isn't there something on the radio station in your car? You could sit there for 10 minutes or so until her Uber arrives.
Do you think that maybe you could get the rest of your gear a little
Later.
later rather than coming back and forth at this pivotal time in my date?
Yeah, look, she was a nice woman, and I did actually have a fun time with her. And we have remained in touch, and I don't know if I'll be seeing her again. I kind of, I've mentioned it, she's mentioned it, it's kind of a possibility. So you never know, but it certainly is nothing urgent. There's certainly nothing happening in a rush. One other kind of factor here is that throughout the course of our date, it was like 3.5 hours, she smoked about like 5 cigarettes. Which is quite a lot for me, a non-smoker, to kind of like, you're like, whoa, okay, that's some pretty serious, like, I think she referred to it as chain smoking, not me, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever kissed a smoker guy, but Jesus
I have.
H Christ.
I absolutely have.
It's like kissing the devil's armpit is what that is. It's like sticking your tongue in the devil's armpit. That's what that's like. And it tastes like shit. And then half an hour later,
it's
after
like,
kissing a smoker, you can still taste it.
It's like putting your mouth in a fireplace full of ash.
Yeah. And spit. Ash and spit. That's what
and
you're sticking
tar.
your tongue in, right? And so that's kind of why it's gross, because you can taste it half an hour later, right? So,
but you're ready to do it again.
This person you've kissed smokes a cigarette half an hour before you kiss them. Then you kiss them. Then half an hour later, you can still taste their cigarette from half an hour before they even kissed you in your mouth, right? That's old, gross saliva right there.
I've got to go to the toilet.
Okay.
Shall we continue?
Well, I'm keen, but you've actually got to be on the Will
I don't have
podcast
to leave
in 35 minutes.
Yeah, I don't have to leave just yet.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, I can keep going if
All
you want
right.
to keep going. I'm sure the listeners won't complain.
The stand-up routine will continue as I...
Well, we might end up both taking a small interlude, but I'll cover you while you're gone. It's a tag team sort of situation. What's our wrestling name again?
I can't remember.
I don't think we have one. Now, of course, the on the live stream it says here that the smoke is going to linger in the fur, I think is what is attempted to be said here. Yes, well, that's true. That's very, very true. Now, this wee moment that we're having right here without Guy here is essentially an interlude, and I'll decide later if I'm going to cut out all of this from the actual podcast. That this is just a live stream thing, just for the live stream listeners. So you guys get some special kind of extra stuff here, which is me talking and just filling gaps constantly like a fucking weirdo. What else have we got, people? Let's interact. All of my stories, I probably can think of one. If I had known he was going to pee, I probably could have found one of my stories. See, this is the issue. I need a better system. I need all of this needs to be a better system so that I can have my notes on a screen right here and I can easily go to my topics. Here we go. Oh, yep, I can talk about that. That's good. Suffice to say, I'll be cutting all of this shit out during the actual podcast, I think. Here we go. What do we got? Tell us about World War II. Well, it all kicked off in 1939 when Hitler invaded Poland, although some people would argue that it actually began much earlier when the Japanese invaded China. But I don't know much about that. This new show that I might be producing, this new short film that I might be producing with this Greek woman, maybe, potentially, is about the Africa Corps and the Multi-Battalion fighting in Africa at that time. So that's pretty interesting. You know, Rommel and bloody Montgomery and all that.
Okay, so Harley has rushed off to go to the toilet. We are a few beers deep now, so toilet stops had to happen at some point. He did ask if we had a tag team name, and for me, I was like thinking in my head, well, there's the Rock and Sock connection, right? Which is The Rock, you know, Dwayne Johnson, one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and Mankind Mick Foley, who's just a wrestler. He never became an actor or anything like that. But that was the Rock and Sock connection. So I was thinking this could be the hair and beer connection. Because, yes, I am hairy, generally speaking. But am I to the level of Harley the beer? Maybe not. So maybe it's the hair and beer connection. So that's kind of what I was thinking as a tag team as I was peeing for that large duration of time. My girlfriend has asked me, isn't it a bit premature to shave for London? Well, depends what parts you're thinking I'm shaving, to be honest. I'm not sure what you're referring to exactly.
You'll have to let me know if there's anything decent in there or if I'm just going to cut that entire piss stop.
Ooh, I'd say cut it.
Yeah, I was going to cut my bit anyway. All right, so back to the show.
What else is on the agenda?
Well, the other day I went and did some photos of a wall ride. Me on a Lime scooter. I'm creating a piece of social media content. It's me on a Lime scooter doing a wall ride, which is where you ride up a wall and then somehow manage to ride off the wall and keep going. And this is a trick you often see on skateboards. And I found this place where it worked perfectly with a Lime scooter. So I went along and did that.
What wall is it? Presumably it's not...
It's a wall on a bike path. And it's steep,
but it's not.
But it's not a vertical wall.
Yeah.
But it is steep. And it is. You could definitely fuck yourself up if it locked up or something when you were on that wall, you would know about it. But anyway, basically, I'm the reason that they even banned for a wee while that they banned Lime scooters in Auckland and Dunedin, because I ride those things like a fucking bat out of hell. And I'm not kidding. I'm like full speed all day, open throttle, closed eyes, drunk sometimes. And I pump for extra speed down the hills, like on a skateboard. You know, like when you're going down a hill, you sort of pump to make it go faster.
You go up and down to...
Yeah. Well, you do it on a snowboard as well. And so I got those Lime scooters up to 41.6 kilometers twice. But that was before they reduced it. They made it, they but they put in like a cap, so now it can only go like 29.6 or something, like 29 point something.
So with that being
capped
said,
they capped the speed.
They kept the speed, right?
But I wanted to make a video where I caught it at 41.6, and I'd have a GoPro on, and I'd look down, and you'd be able to see how fast I'm going as I hoon down this fucking hill. Because I reckon that would actually get a bunch of views, because you go the fastest a lime can go, and it's me wearing fucking latex hooning down a hill.
Yeah.
You know, that would have been good, but I didn't get round to it before they cut it. What were you going to say in regard to limes?
Oh, well, just so they cap it, as in some like moderate brakes kick in after you certain
yeah.
speed.
Like basically, you can just feel the engine won't go the motor won't do whatever it's doing any faster. I don't know exactly how they work in there, but basically it won't. It reaches a point where it just refuses to go any faster than that. And if you were on a super steep hill, you'd obviously be able to make it go faster, I guess. You know, you'd force it, but you can feel kind of a slight resistance in the wheels, but not a hard braking, just a lack of acceleration.
Right. Also, update to the stalker from last week.
Oh, well, I haven't quite finished here.
Oh.
I haven't quite finished with this whole line bit, babe. Sit down, bro. No. Anyway, I rock these lime scooters. I do jumps. I get air. I do big old skids and all that type of thing. And
like a true bad boy.
And I make
real bad boy.
Well, I do make a living out of it too. You know, Operation GoPro means kind of just getting paid to be Harley. So when I see old people, I push them over and snatch their purses, and then I'm gone. 27 k's an hour. I'm out of there, and quiet too. Okay, they say all you can hear is the wind blowing through my shoulder here. And by then, it's too late. Operation GoPro, get paid to be me. The media dubbed me the Lime Bandit. And around the rest homes, they call me the Citrus Scallywag. So I went out to take those photos the other day, so that was good. I think I mentioned it, but I posted my referral code on the internet. I've had like probably close to $100 worth of credit on my Lime account now, on account of all the people that have signed up using my referral code. So I get like $100 worth of free liming.
We do have a couple of questions on our live feed here. What do you think about siren jams? It's a type of music popular in New Zealand. You can search it on YouTube if it interests you. What do you think about siren jams, Harley?
I've literally never heard of it, but it sounds terrible.
It does sound terrible. But we don't know because we haven't listened to it. I will say that I heard about something recently, you know, education, teaching the youth thrifting. You heard of this?
No. Well, I mean, is it just being cheap and like
being
economically savvy?
So the idea is that there's people that go through thrift shops and op shops and stuff like that, and they buy like certain very specific things, and then they put it on their Instagram account and sell it for way more because they think that it will be of value to other people.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you know, one of the students had a old Simpsons T-shirt on. Which must have been from like probably the 90s or something like that. And I was like, man, that's a cool T-shirt. She goes, oh yeah, I bought it off Instagram. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Thrifting.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, check out Instagram.
So it's essentially selling secondhand shit.
It's selling secondhand shit,
but more than you bought it
exactly
for.
Like and sort of finding also kind of like rare stuff like a Simpsons T-shirt from the 1990s.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
UB Positive has also asked, are we planning on shooting any short skits or parody videos soon? The answer is, we are not.
Always.
Well, the answer is probably the next thing that we shoot will be...
We don't have any set dates for anything.
Yeah.
But there's always things that we would like to shoot.
Yeah, there's things
at
in
the
the
moment
pipeline.
we're bogged down in post-production at the moment.
Yeah.
At /life admin. So these life admin / post-production means that we're not really in the zone of like looking for more shit to do at the moment. But things come up sometimes and you seize those opportunities when they do.
Yeah, so I guess that's the thing is like sometimes when you're super busy with stuff, it's like, well, look, we can't create any new stuff just off the top of our head right now because we can't justify it because we've got to finish the old creative stuff we finished. However, if someone comes along and goes, we will give you a certain amount of money to shoot a video, or hey, you know, we'll give you this platform to film a video, you go, yeah, cool, we'll do that. which is kind of how a lot of our projects come along now. Is not so much that
it's
we
just what shows up.
It's what we get asked to do, which is awesome,
Well,
as opposed to what we just plan to do ourselves as well. But I will say, obviously, the project season 2 is something that I'd like to be doing this year for sure.
Yeah. I've got an exciting meeting on Tuesday, which hopefully could maybe, if we're lucky, lead to us maybe doing some... Guy's checked his empty beer like 4 times. It's still empty.
Update. Still empty.
It's still empty, but he has checked it several times to make sure. So shout out Hoodamos, sponsor of the show.
Yeah.
I have this meeting on Tuesday that may or may not lead to some us producing ads, so that'll be cool. Now, I do have a segment which is related to limes, and it's a funny story, but I think that before we get to that, you should tell, seeing as we were talking about the project season 2, you should finish your stalker story.
Yes, I did.
From last week.
Well, we basically, I was very scared with a stalker that was messaging me and curious, cryptic messages.
Yeah, we spoke about it last episode.
And I was really racking my brains. This really put me on edge. I was looking over my shoulder.
Yeah.
I was wondering, I was like, who could be the prankster? Like, who could it be? Like,
did you ever suspect it was like me? Were you ever like,
nah,
that's Harley?
No, I was like, Harley doesn't have time.
Well, I just also, I mean, imagine how much effort it would be for me to find another number.
Yeah, like
to then just text you some silly shit.
Like, I was like, Harley's too lazy. Harley's too lazy. It can't be Harley. So I wasn't like it was Harley, but I was like, who is it? It must be someone in the circle. And I did.
Must be someone in the circle jerk.
The
wrestling circle jerk.
I suspect it was a wrestler. My suspicions were incorrect. It was a Sifty 150 listener, which was one of my other guesses. But Harley gave me the Iggy. That's a wrestling term.
Right.
Which it means that basically the Iggy is like a little thing to say, like, let's go home, like, let's take it home, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
So he gave me the Iggy. And I figured it out.
What kind of thing would an Iggy normally be? Would it be a particular move, or would you literally just say something in their ear?
You might say something in their ear. You could like give them a they say, and it's not. I don't. This has never happened, but they kind of like touch the inside of your with your middle finger. They touch
your palm.
Your palm. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. To be like, all right, like time to take it home.
That's interesting because in Colombia, when you are touching your girlfriend's palm or somebody's palm that you're romantically with, you can use your is that your index finger? Your finger.
Yeah.
Middle finger. Your middle finger to push against their palm or the palm of this person you're romantically into when you're holding hands or whatever, and it means like, I'm ready to fuck. I'm ready to fuck right now. So that's a wee.
Have you ever received that?
If I'm ever holding your hand and I do that to you, put everything down and let's go.
I will also say that not in wrestling terms, if someone just shakes your hand and does that, it can also suggest that they're gay and they want to fuck you.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've heard that one as well.
All right, interesting.
But yeah, Harley gave me the Iggy.
Yeah.
And smartened me up. That's another wrestling term. If you get smartened up to the business, it's not as common now, but the idea is that you go into wrestling training and they don't actually tell you that it's not real.
Yeah.
They make you do all these rolls and take all these bumps, and then when you get in there with an experienced wrestler, they basically beat the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
Because they're still trying to maintain this illusion.
Yeah.
And then at some point they smarten you up and they go, look, you're actually losing this match and this is how. Yeah. So you know how we've beaten the shit out of you. Just kidding. Yeah. That was sort of the 80s, early 90s, and before for people that were training as wrestlers. Yeah. Even to the wrestlers, they weren't being smartened up. Yeah. But now, so Harley smartened me up.
So I smartened you up,
and we found out who it was.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Oh, well, you obviously got to tell the listeners now. You can't go on this 20-minute fucking tirade and then.
Well, it was Kieran, who was one of the Sifty 150.
Yeah.
Who may be in the project season 2.
Yeah.
And he was just fucking with me.
He was just fucking with you. Yeah. Yeah, because I actually gave him your number.
Yeah.
And I was like, he was like, he had some ideas for the project season 2. And I was like, oh, well, you better send them. They were good ideas too, as I recall. And I said, well, you better send them to Guy. And he said, cool, what's his number? And then he goes, I'll text him in character. And then I didn't think about it beyond that. I was like, yeah, whatever, that's funny. Haha. And then it wasn't until halfway through the last episode that I clicked.
Yeah.
I clicked about what it must be and what must be going on here. And
he got me.
He has sent in some feedback and said that episode was hilarious, by the way.
He fucking got me.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
So I didn't tell you on the show, but I did tell you afterwards. I hinted on the show that you should ask about the project.
Yep.
And then I told you afterwards. But I actually forgot after the show. So it was not for a few more hours and after the show finished that I went and put Guy out of his misery and let him know that he didn't actually have a stalker.
It was it was just before I was about to visit my counselor for the to talk me down off the ledge. It was deep fear and psychological concern that had been caused by this text.
Now I do have there's this relatively new segment. It has been on the show before.
That has featured on the show a couple times.
Yeah. It's called Harley's a Cunt. And it's normally where I have confrontations with middle-aged men, where I just fly
who you're bigger, stronger, and more physically intimidating than.
Okay. So before I'm short, and now I'm big and strong.
To a 50-year-old middle-aged man, you are. Yes. To a shrunken 50-year-old middle-aged man, yes, you're quite intimidating.
There was the guy that pushed in at the bakery, right?
We
had an important meeting. This guy pushed in at the bakery, and I was like, steady on, old man. We were here first. And then there was another time when I was dropping off my film festival guests at the airport, and some poor soul with his elderly parents was trying to travel, and his elderly dad was trying to encourage him to push in front of me, and I was like,
no.
I was like, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I think I was like, fuck off, go to the back of the line like everybody else, or something to that effect. Now I've normally this segment, right, is me ultimately acknowledging my poor behavior and apologizing. Well, hang on. I'll play the intro first. All right? This is a pre-recorded intro. I'm just going to edit this in. Da-da-da-da! Harley's a cunt. That's the intro. That's a good intro.
I like it.
Yeah. And so, anyway, the other day I was riding my Lime scooter, and I went across a pedestrian crossing. Now, it was a red light pedestrian crossing, so that means that the cars have to stop just for the pedestrians to get across. Now, this biker was coming down. I was crossing, and this biker was coming along and not slowing down, and it would be kind of a reasonably easy place to miss, because it's not a red light intersection, it's just for the pedestrians. So if you were like looking ahead, you might not really notice the pedestrian crossing in the foreground, maybe, So I saw him, and he was still going, and he didn't slow down, and then finally he saw me and he stopped, and he was really only a few meters away from me, but by this stage I had slowed down to avoid a collision as well. And I mean, I didn't do anything. I sort of looked at him for a little bit longer than I should have, or something. I maybe gave him a bit of a look, like, "What? Are you going to stop or what, dickhead?" But I didn't actually physically stop my movement. I just slowed it down. So it was all happening very quickly. It wasn't like a big old thing. And so I'd sort of slowed down, and then he finally stopped, way ahead of where he was meant to stop, basically on the crossing. And and then I was looking at him, and then instead of going like, "Oh, sorry about that, mate," he goes, "Hurry up." Like I needed to fucking hurry up. Like somehow I was in the wrong. Like I was being dramatic for slowing down for this fucking BMW riding weekend warrior cocksucker that was just about to run a red light. And he was riding a BMW, by the way. And so he goes, "Hurry up." That was it. That was all it took. I flew off the fucking handle. I was on a Lime scooter, so I nearly literally flew off the fucking handle. Okay, you want to talk about throwing down? I was about to throw down my e-scooter and kick this guy's fucking ass, all right? I'm serious. It's not like I owned it, right? So I could just jump off that scooter, let it crash dramatically in front of like all of the, other cars that had stopped, because there was other people around, just that I could like step him out, this guy, whoever he was. Now, I don't remember exactly how everything went down. I don't remember exactly what I said, because I was in a deep blood rage at the time. My plea in court would definitely have been insanity, temporary insanity. So I can't remember exactly what words were exchanged, but I said something along the lines of, like, so he goes, "Hurry up," and I go, "Oi, fuck off, dickhead, you big fucking hero! It's a red light." Then he said something else, which was along the lines of like, yeah, keep walking, no apology, no acknowledgement of the fact that he's 150% in the wrong, nothing, just rich wanker arrogance. So that just made me even more angry. I wanted blood for the blood god at this point, skulls for his skull throne. So I said something along the lines of like, what the fuck are you up to, dickhead? It's a pedestrian crossing. And he said something else that I don't really remember, but it was, again, trying to be like dismissive and be a fucking hero about it. Sort of ignoring the fact that he needed his license confiscated and shoved directly up his pompous fucking ass. All right. So now I'm really wanting to challenge this guy to a death duel. I'm thinking about giving up my freedom just so that I can see his eyeballs pop out of his cracked skull. But I don't remember exactly what I said for the entire tirade, but at that point I launched into a tirade. But I do remember at one point saying, learn to drive, you limp-dicked old cunt. So I really wasn't holding back. Now at that point in time I was like, I don't know, I just felt so outraged that this guy had done something wrong and then tried to blame it on me. And then I was like pretty tempted to just like knock him out and then make him famous in a viral video of me teabagging him, but I opted not to do that. So yeah, anyway, that was kind of what happened. I fucking flipped my wig at him. And now you said after I told you that, you said to me that, what did you say? You said that you thought there might be like some deeper meaning behind my rage, an emotional response. That I might be releasing some pent up emotions, and I don't think that's true at all. I think that's completely false. I think it's a silly conclusion to jump to. Although I do remember at one point just yelling at him, just screaming and going, "I can't believe you got her pregnant, you cowardly usurper!" Or something like that. Something like that. But anyway, I think you're completely wrong.
Totally off base. It wasn't about something else. It was nothing to do with that.
I was having a good day. And I was having a good day, to be honest. I didn't even mind. Like, even afterwards, to be honest, I just felt quite good about the whole thing. Because I felt like he had started something, but I fucking finished it, you know what I'm saying? And on top of that, I had my expletives were far more colourful than his, and
far more creative, far
more colourful. And that day, I'd had a good day. I'd recorded ADR for Older. That's productive and cool at a cool place.
Got a free bottle of Coke.
Filled my pocket with candy.
Yeah.
And then I went to Emmy the Vegan's house to have a meeting about Emmy the Vegan. That was productive as well. And, I'd done some exercise and I'd done some washing and all that. I was having a good day, apart from just this one ball bag. But yeah, that's that story.
It's just like the Joker says, you just need that one bad day. That one thing.
Well,
it'll just set you off. I mean, It sounds like the beginning of the new Joker movie. I don't know if you've seen that trailer.
No, I haven't.
But it's kind of an interesting, cool trailer, but like a lot of mixed reaction to it. I thought it was cool, but
I better watch it.
That's you, mate. Just like everything was going great, and then the lime scooter incident, and then you become a supervillain of Gotham City.
Oh. Yeah. And that actually reminds me as well, is that as I was kind of walking away from him, right? Now he was a middle-aged guy. He was a middle-aged BMW driving inner city banker type,
posing absolutely zero threat to yourself.
Well, that's not true. He could have fucking killed me. He literally could have killed me on his super shit motorbike. That is very expensive shit motorbike. He could have killed me that day. So we're talking about high stakes here. I should have knocked that cunt the fuck out, fucking dickhead. Anyway,
is that what you thought about the guy in the cafe queue as well?
No. But the cafe queue guy, I didn't call a cunt, or I did not provoke him to the 100% of my ability to provoke him. The only way I could have provoked this guy more would have been if I had walked over and tried to physically intimidate him in some way. But in terms of my language and my body posture and body language and so on, I really didn't leave much room for him, not to be provoked. And yet he was not. But anyway, at this point, right, at the end of all of this, we're sort of moving away, right? I'm getting on with my day. He's waiting at the light. I'm sort of moving on through. It's all kind of over. And then I don't know exactly what he said. I can't say for sure that I heard what he said. His helmet on and everything. But I'm pretty sure I heard the words short man syndrome. At which point, I was like, you fucking dickhead, and scooted off into the sunset. But I tell you what, it was not a height thing until he brought it up. Then I was like, I'm going to kick your lanky ass, you dirty fucking tawley. So yeah, short man syndrome. He thought he had chucked that in there. Fucking big hero.
Brilliant. Well, I think now we do have to wrap it up because I do have to drive to do my second podcast.
So that's going to be the equivalent of like 5 hours worth of talking for you when it's all said and done.
I've done a lot of talking, but I'm looking forward to it because I am talking about this documentary and I'm talking about this MSA. That is with Will Fleming. So if you want to hear a little bit more about that, I think we may be going live tonight. That is on the Please Blow My Mind podcast, which you can find on Facebook and iTunes and Spotify.
Please blow my mind.
Yeah. I said that to my girlfriend, but I replaced the last word with something else.
Balloon. Please blow my balloon. Something like that.
But like that's what I'm doing. And shortly, but I've got to drive out there, and I've probably got to have a little something to eat to sober up after these 3 beers. Quickly before I go. So thank you everyone, and please remember that you can support through the GoFundMe or here on the channel, but we will post a link to the GoFundMe. It looks cooler on the GoFundMe.
Facebook.com/Guy and Harley. Now, obviously, it looks better on the GoFundMe the more money you get on the GoFundMe. But the thing is that some listeners out there will be like, well, what the fuck's a GoFundMe? I can't be fucked with any of this. How do I give you some money? The answer is, if you've got PayPal, pigvilleproductions@gmail.com is the email address you need. If you're on the live stream, there's a thing down below. It says, show us your tips. You can donate via Streamlabs right there. And then on top of that, you can go to the GoFundMe page and search. What do they search on GoFundMe, Guy?
So I think it's...
we'll share it on the Guy and Harley Facebook page, but if is there any way of finding it?
I think it's called... It's just called Documentary to Fight MSA or something like that. It's kind of like a long... Okay. Like, it's not an easy link to find.
There's also patreon.com/pigville. Shout out to Nico Medill, by the way. I've got a long list of people I meant to be shouting out, and I'll shout you guys out next time. Shout out Nico Medill, though. We were talking about Patreon and stuff recently.
It's great to see Nico. And also, I will say to Nico, like, if I'm having this second hip surgery, looking forward to seeing you back in Dunedin and have another catch up with you when my hip is incapacitated, my other hip is incapacitated. That would be very cool. Bevan says that Irene has learnt
her bad word vocabulary has
doubled
during this episode. That makes me happy because there's one thing that brings me joy, which
shining light in this world.
Teaching Russians bad words. Something I take pleasure in.
But I better go. But thank you all very much.
Shout out to Bevan, and shout out to UB
Positive for hanging in there
on the live stream as well. And if you guys would like to support us, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, go hit it, and we will catch you very, very soon on the next episode. Hopefully, by the way, it's my birthday on April 13th, so hopefully, I'm really kind of hoping we get one more episode out before you go.
Me too.
Before Guy goes.
Me too.
One more before you go.
Yeah.
My birthday on April 13th. I don't know what to do yet, but yeah, we'll figure that out. But anyway, we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Alright, mate.
Sweet, bro. Gotta do it.
Sweet dog.
Gotta fucking do it.
Cool. Well, I'll just forget that the live stream's on and then have a wank. Sweet. Sound good?
Sounds good, bro.
Okay, cool. So this segment of the show is what we call the post-coital cuddle. I'm just going to hang out for a second. But the show's over. This is not the show. But I'm here. I'm live streaming on Twitch. drinking beer. So I guess if you've got any thrilling topics or questions that you think I might have an answer to or an insight on, now's your time. Otherwise, I'll be getting out of here. You know, I got doobies to smoke. It's Saturday night, man. Saturday night. And here I am. I'll probably be right here in front of this computer, to be really honest. I'm going to be... I've got Netflix. Shout out Bevan and Irene. I've got Netflix. So I've been watching a couple of things. I've been watching One Strange Rock, which is kind of like Cosmos, except for it's hosted by Will Smith instead of Neil deGrasse Tyson. But it's really good. And I've started the Madeleine McCann doco, which is reasonably interesting. I've only watched 2 episodes. I will finish it, but not in a mad rush. And then I've got to finish Black Mirror as well. I'm only 15 years behind on that one. Other than that, I've got Red Dead Redemption. And so Netflix and chill, that's old school. Nowadays, it's all Red Dead in bed. So I might do that tonight, play a bit of Red Dead in bed. I might even stream it. Hell. Maybe. Saturday night. I'm single. You'd think I'd be doing something outside of the house. Or inviting somebody into the house. But I'm just inviting you guys into my home. Welcome. Well, if there are no listener topics for the post-coital cuddle, then I'll get going. See you soon.